Hello there, and welcome to the Science for Sleep. The night settles softly over the world, and the forest exhales and whispers as we drift together into the quiet realm of primates, the clever, curious, and deeply familiar relatives who still move among the trees, living in ways that mirror our own story yet remain wondrously their own. Welcome to this gentle journey through the sleepy science of our kin, the thinkers and dreamers, the builders and singers of the canopy, who balance between shadow and light and lives filled with laughter, tenderness, and quiet wisdom. These are the creatures whose gestures remind us of home, the mothers who cradle their young, the friends who groom and comfort one another, the inventors who craft tools and share them, the peacemakers who soothe instead of strike, and the wanderers who hum, sing, and play simply because it feels good to be alive. From the smallest marmoset hidden in the trembling leaves to the mighty gorilla whose gaze can pierce through silence, each holds a spark of awareness, a reflection of the same intelligence that one day would build cities and send thoughts across oceans. But intelligence did not begin with us. It was born in these forests long before we arrived, nurtured by the rhythm of rain, the call of distant kin, and the delicate act of watching, remembering, and teaching. In the deep green jungles of Africa and Asia, young primates learn by imitation, by quiet observation more powerful than words. They watch the elders crack open nuts with stones, rinse fruit in clear water, and use twigs to tease hidden treats from bark or termite mounds. These lessons are not instinct but inheritance, passed like invisible threads from generation to generation, shaping cultures that differ from valley to valley, even within a single species. One troop may master the art of using smooth river stones to open palm nuts, while another nearby lives its whole life unaware of such a skill, not because it cannot, but because the knowledge was never shared. Culture, in its most ancient form, is alive here, not written in books or carved in memory, but carried in the eyes of the young as they watch the hands of the old. The mother teaches her infant through patience and repetition, a rhythm of life that continues long after she is gone, echoing the human cycle of learning, forgetting, and rediscovering. Among chimpanzees, this wisdom becomes visible in their hands, for they are the craftsmen of the forest. They select branches with care, strip away leaves with purpose, and shape tools with remarkable precision. Some create spears to hunt small prey, others fashion sticks to fish for termites or stones to crush nuts, each tool a whisper of design, each motion deliberate and thoughtful. What astonishes is not only their creativity but their willingness to teach, mothers slowing their movements so that their young can follow, waiting as small hands try and fail, until success finally comes. A single act of learning can take years, and so the forest becomes a classroom, its lessons etched not in words but in patience. Across generations, these tool-making traditions evolve, forming local styles much like human art. One community prefers thick sticks for termite fishing, another favors slender grass stems. The difference is not random but cultural, a living technology that predates humanity itself. Every motion, every choice, reveals an understanding of cause and effect, a sense that the world can be shaped by intention. Just as remarkable is the nightly ritual of the orangutan, the silent architect of the rainforest. As dusk gathers over the treetops, these gentle beings climb high to craft their sleeping nests with hands as graceful as any artisans. They bend branches to form sturdy bases, weave smaller twigs into flexible layers, and line the center with fresh leaves until the structure is both strong and soft. Some even fashion leafy roofs to shield against rain, turning their homes into cradles that sway like hammocks in the wind. Each night, they begin anew, not from forgetfulness, but from wisdom, knowing that a fresh nest keeps away parasites and keeps them near the ripest fruit. Watching them work is like seeing an engineer's mind expressed through nature, balancing weight and comfort, foresight and craft. The orangutan's nightly ritual tells us that thoughtfulness can be quiet, expressed not through words or tools, but through care and consistency. In the dense forests of the Congo Basin, another story unfolds, that of the bonobo, the peacekeeper of the primate world. Where others may show dominance or aggression, bonobos choose connection. When conflict stirs, they reach out with kindness. A grooming session replaces a fight, shared fruit replaces rivalry, and gentle play turns tension into laughter. They build societies not on fear but on trust, guided by empathy and cooperation. Their groups are often led by females who maintain order through understanding rather than force, ensuring that everyone, even outsiders, feels part of the whole. When one bonobo is hurt or anxious, another will approach to comfort, embracing or soothing with soft gestures. Their way of life reveals that survival does not always belong to the strongest in muscle, but often to the strongest in heart. In the bonobo's world, compassion is strategy, and harmony is strength. It's a living reminder that gentleness, too, is a form of power. Nearby, in the misty mountains and thick jungles, gorillas live with a different kind of peace. When they settle down to feed, a low hum drifts through the air, a sound so gentle it feels like the earth itself is humming back. Each gorilla has its own tone, a soft melody of contentment shared during meal times. Researchers believe this humming keeps families together, signaling safety and satisfaction. It is communication without command, music born of harmony. Young gorillas often listen closely, learning the rhythms of their elders, and over time each family develops its own. Imagine the forest alive with these murmurs, the rustle of leaves, the buzz of insects, the deep, steady hum of contented giants. It is perhaps one of the most tender expressions of community in the animal world, a song of togetherness that needs no language at all. Far across the sea, in the unique landscapes of Madagascar, lemurs weave their world not with sound but with scent. Their communication is written in invisible trails left upon trees, branches, and the air itself. They rub special glands on their bodies to mark their presence, each scent telling a story of identity, health, emotion, even intention. Some markings serve as territorial boundaries, others are invitations or warnings. Males sometimes engage in what researchers charmingly call stink fights, waving scented tails at rivals, a strange blend of display and defiance. Females use their own scent signals to mark territory or fertility, ensuring balance within their societies. To a lemur, the forest is not seen as we see it, it is smelled, mapped by fragrance and memory, a world painted in perfume rather than color. The air becomes their diary, and every tree their message board. Through these delicate scents, lemurs navigate, socialize, and coexist, proving that communication takes endless forms beyond voice and sight. In the humid jungles of Central and South America, capuchin monkeys demonstrate another kind of brilliance, resourcefulness born from curiosity. They have been seen capturing certain millipedes, biting them gently to release defensive chemicals, then rubbing these secretions across their fur, hands, and feet. It may appear playful, even mischievous, but it is in fact a brilliant act of self-care. The chemicals repel mosquitoes and parasites, functioning as natural insect repellent. Some scientists even suspect that the monkeys feel a mild soothing or stimulating effect from these compounds, like a natural balm. What begins as a solitary ritual often turns into a communal one, as others join in, passing the millipede and sharing the treatment. In that shared act lies hygiene, health, and social bonding intertwined. It is an extraordinary glimpse into how instinct can meet innovation, how observation becomes survival. Yet not all intelligence is born of necessity, sometimes it blooms simply for joy. In the snow-covered mountains of Japan, macaques, or snow monkeys, have been observed making snowballs for no practical reason at all. They gather snow in their hands, press it into round shapes, roll it across the ground, and watch it crumble or grow. They toss snow, chase each other, and seem to laugh in their own way, their playfulness glowing against the white silence of winter. Scientists have watched this behavior and found it has no purpose beyond pleasure. It is pure play. And play, they note, is a sign of a healthy, intelligent mind. Through play, young monkeys learn coordination, cooperation, and creativity. Through play, stress melts away. Even the elders join in, reminding us that curiosity and joy are not luxuries of youth but lifelong companions of the intelligent. These moments of whimsy, so small yet profound, remind us that imagination is not uniquely human, it is the quiet heartbeat of awareness. And then there are the gibbons, the poets of the canopy, whose lives unfold to music. As dawn breaks over the treetops, pairs of gibbons begin their duets, singing in synchronized rhythm. Their voices rise and fall, weaving melodies that carry far across the forest, claiming territory without conflict, strengthening bonds without words. Each pair has its own song, a private language of notes and pauses that no other couple quite repeats. Their timing is perfect. One begins, the other answers, together creating harmonies that echo for miles. Their music is not random but composed, deliberate, practiced over time like a dance between hearts. These songs are love letters sung to the forest, messages of unity carried on the wind. To listen is to feel the pulse of life itself in rhythm and tone, to sense that communication, in its purest form, is both emotional and artistic. Across all these beings, the toolmakers, the builders, the singers, the perfumers, the healers, and the players, runs a common thread: awareness. A sense that life is not just lived but experienced, felt, and shared. When we watch them, we are not looking into another world but into a mirror reflecting a gentler version of our own origins. They remind us that intelligence is not always loud or proud. Sometimes it hums softly while chewing leaves, or glows in the careful weaving of a nest. It comforts, it teaches, it forgives. It hums, sings, smells, plays, and dreams. It builds homes, heals wounds, and passes wisdom through generations, not by writing or speech, but through living example. The world of primates is not primitive, it is anciently wise. It teaches us that culture began not with humans but with the first mind that watched, remembered, and cared enough to teach another. So as you breathe and drift deeper into rest, imagine them out there. The chimps teaching their children beneath the African sun, the orangutans folding leaves into cradles high above the forest floor, the bonobos embracing after quarrels, the gorillas humming as the mist rises, the lemurs weaving invisible maps of scent, the capuchins anointing themselves in fragrant defense, the macaques rolling snow with laughter, and the gibbons singing love songs to the dawn. Each one, in its own way, part of a great symphony of life, a harmony that began long before us and continues tonight, under the same moon that now watches over you. Sleep, then, knowing that somewhere, in the heart of the forest, our cousins are awake, living lives filled with thought, care, and wonder. And in their quiet wisdom, they keep the ancient melody of life alive, humming softly through the trees until morning comes again. In the soft hush of the rainforest dawn, the gibbons awaken, their slender shapes silhouetted against the mist as the first notes of morning drift through the trees. Each duet begins like a secret shared between hearts, one voice rising, the other answering, until their song becomes a river of sound flowing through the forest canopy. These melodies are more than mere calls. They are vows of unity, love, and territory sung into the open sky. Young gibbons learn by listening, absorbing the patterns of rhythm and tone until one day they, too, find their own family song. When they mature, their voices blend into the chorus of generations, a heritage of music that binds them across time. To stand beneath the golden light of sunrise and hear their voices carrying above the leaves is to witness one of nature's most elegant forms of communication, a harmony of instinct and emotion, where the forest itself seems to hum in response. Far below them, in the tangled branches of South America, tiny marmosets whisper secrets no human ear was meant to catch. They live in close families, always chattering, always aware of one another, but when danger lingers near or when a private exchange must be made, they lower their voices to a delicate murmur. The whispers are faint, barely rippling the air, yet filled with meaning, messages of reassurance, warning, or affection, carried like invisible threads between them. Scientists, using sensitive microphones, have discovered these miniature conversations, proof of an extraordinary awareness of social nuance. The marmosets choose when to speak softly and when to stay silent, shaping their tone based on who is listening, much like people do when they whisper in crowded rooms. In a world of constant noise, wind, insects, and birdsong, their ability to lower their voices becomes an act of both safety and grace, protecting them from predators while keeping harmony within the group. It is a quiet intelligence, born of empathy and restraint, a voice measured by thought. As night falls in another corner of the primate world, tiny tarsiers awaken beneath the silver light of the moon. With eyes so large they seem to hold entire stars, these nocturnal hunters sit motionless on slender branches, their gaze fixed on the smallest flicker of movement. Because their eyes are too large to move in their sockets, nature gave them an extraordinary gift, the ability to turn their heads almost completely around. Their necks twist nearly in a full circle, letting them scan the night without shifting their bodies, keeping them hidden from predators and invisible to their prey. They wait with stillness that feels almost supernatural, and then, in a single heartbeat, they leap, silent, precise, unstoppable. Their long fingers close like traps, and their delicate bodies land without a sound. They are the owls of the primate world, creatures of patience and power, whose every motion is a blend of focus and grace. Where they live, silence is survival, and every gaze, every turn of the head, is a meditation on vigilance. And then there is the slow loris, whose round eyes and gentle expression disguise a secret few would guess. It carries venom. Among mammals, that is a rare gift, or curse. The slow loris moves carefully through the night, unhurried, trusting its stillness more than speed. When threatened, it raises its arms, revealing glands near its elbows that produce a special oily fluid. By licking that fluid and mixing it with its saliva, the loris turns its mouth into a weapon. One bite can cause intense pain and swelling, even shock. Predators who learn that lesson seldom try again. Some mothers rub this same fluid on their babies, anointing them in invisible armor before tucking them safely into the leaves. It is a defense so subtle, so unexpected, that even scientists were long fooled by its tender face. When a loris raises its arms, it looks almost like a child asking to be held, but the gesture is a quiet warning, a signal that the gentle creature is preparing to protect itself with chemistry as much as courage. Beauty here is a disguise for survival, softness masking a hidden edge. In another forest, where rivers twist through mangroves and air hangs heavy with heat, the proboscis monkey swings from branch to branch, its enormous nose leading the way. Males of the species possess pendulum-like noses that hang several inches over their mouths, comical at first glance but perfect in purpose. The nose is not decoration, it is an instrument. When a male calls, air resonates through the large cavity, amplifying his voice into a deep, resonant boom that rolls across the swamp like distant thunder. This booming call warns rivals and calls to females, a living demonstration that in nature, sound and strength are often the same thing. Over generations, females favored males with larger, deeper voices, and nature, ever the artist, sculpted that preference into flesh. The result is a face shaped by attraction, a monument to desire and survival working hand in hand. The great nose may also help regulate heat in the thick tropical air, a built-in air conditioner for life in the humid jungle. The proboscis monkey is proof that evolution can be playful, turning practicality into spectacle, and that sometimes the strangest features are born of confidence itself. As dawn breaks across another canopy, a new voice rises, the thunderous roar of the howler monkey. Before sunrise, when fog wraps around the forest like a dream, their calls roll through the trees, deep and resonant, echoing for miles. The howler's throat contains an enlarged bone, a natural chamber that magnifies its voice until the jungle itself seems to tremble. These calls are not cries of anger but boundaries of sound. By listening, rival groups know where to stop, preventing battles before they begin. Within the troop, the calls help family members stay connected across distance, a living map of sound in a maze of branches. Few animals command their environment through voice alone, but the howler monkey rules the forest not by tooth or claw, but by breath. It is a reminder that power can roar softly through air instead of through violence. Up in the Ethiopian highlands, where the wind carries a chill and the sky stretches endlessly, the geladas graze on grass and sunlight. These primates live not in dense forests but in open plains, their social lives painted across wide horizons. To live in such vast herds, hundreds moving together, they have learned to speak with their faces. A gelada's face is alive with expression, a flicker of the eyes, a tilt of the lips, a flash of teeth, a brief tightening of the brow. Scientists have counted over 30 unique expressions, each carrying its own meaning: affection, warning, curiosity, invitation, reassurance. It is a silent symphony of motion, a language of glances that keeps peace in their crowded society. When a disagreement arises, one look can calm the tension. When fear spreads, a single expression of trust can restore order. Even young geladas read these cues instinctively, seeking comfort or permission without a sound. Watching them is like watching emotion itself made visible, a reflection of our own ability to read faces and find meaning in movement. Theirs is a world where communication does not depend on words, only on awareness, a reminder that empathy is the oldest language of all. Deep in the tropical forests of Central Africa, another face gleams like a living painting. The mandrill, perhaps the most vividly colored mammal on Earth, carries a mask of electric blue and crimson that shines as though lit from within. The colors are not fur but skin, brightened by microscopic ridges that scatter light in shimmering hues. The more dominant the male, the brighter his face becomes, a living display of health and status. The same radiant colors spread down his body, even glowing across his hindquarters, which he presents proudly during encounters. It is both warning and invitation, beauty serving communication. The brightness tells rivals to keep their distance, and tells potential mates that strength and vitality are near. Early explorers thought these animals must have been painted by human hands, their patterns too perfect, too vivid to be natural. But the truth is more magnificent. The mandrill wears the ceremony of nature itself, adorned not by art but by evolution's sense of grandeur. Each one is born in its own costume of light, moving through the forest like royalty among shadows. On the island of Madagascar, the night belongs to another extraordinary being, the eye, a primate so strange that it seems to have stepped out of a dream. Its eyes gleam with intelligence, its teeth never stop growing, and from its hand extends a single thin, skeletal finger unlike any other in the animal world. The eye taps on wood, again and again, listening for the hollow echo that reveals a tunnel carved by an insect hiding inside. When it hears the right sound, it gnaws a hole with its sharp teeth and slides that eerie finger deep into the bark to extract the hidden grub. This method, called percussive foraging, is found almost nowhere else among mammals. The eye hunts not with sight but with sound and touch, a detective moving through the darkness guided by rhythm. Everything about its design, its ears, its teeth, its strange, probing hand, exists for this single purpose. What might look bizarre is in fact a masterpiece of specialization, an animal shaped entirely by its hunger and its patience. It is a creature that thrives in mystery, turning strangeness into survival. And finally, beneath the canopy's sunlight and shadows, the spider monkeys race like wind. With arms long as poetry and tails strong as rope, they swing between branches faster than a person can run. Their bodies seem weightless, their movement effortless, each leap a perfect arc through space. Their tails are more than balance. They are fifth limbs, coiling, gripping, carrying, and supporting their entire weight as they glide from tree to tree. To watch them move is to see freedom embodied, muscles and air and instinct woven together into flight. They rarely touch the ground, living their lives suspended in motion, and their speed keeps them safe from most threats. In their grace, they remind us that agility is its own form of intelligence, that the body can think just as deeply as the mind. Across these forests, plains, and islands, whether singing at sunrise, whispering in the dark, humming, glowing, leaping, or simply watching, primates reveal countless ways of being alive. Some find safety in silence, others in sound. Some rule with color, others with kindness. Their behaviors are songs in different languages, all speaking of connection, curiosity, and care. To listen to their world is to understand that thought wears many shapes and voices. Intelligence is not bound by words but woven through life itself, in the hush of a marmoset's whisper, in the steady stare of a tarsier, in the song of the gibbon, and in the thunderous voice of the howler echoing through mist. And so, as night stretches over the sleeping jungle and stars shimmer above the endless canopy, you can imagine them all still awake, some hunting, some playing, some simply swaying in the wind, each one carrying a piece of the world's oldest wisdom. Their eyes reflect the same moon we see, their songs drift into the same sky, and their stories, though written in branch and shadow instead of books, are part of our own. If you close your eyes and breathe deeply, you might almost hear them, the gibbon's duet fading into the distance, the whisper of marmosets brushing against leaves, the soft tapping of the eye, the rumble of howlers far away. Together they form a lullaby that has played for millions of years, the sound of life thinking, feeling, and dreaming beneath the stars. In the vast, green cathedral of the rainforest, where light moves like breath through leaves, spider monkeys glide effortlessly through the canopy in a style of motion called brachiation, a rhythm so smooth it looks like air itself is carrying them forward. Their bodies swing like pendulums, each hand already reaching for the next branch before the last one releases, and through this choreography of movement, they turn travel into an art form. Over open gaps, they sail as though the forest were water and they were waves, crossing in seconds what would take a human many minutes to navigate through tangled roots and uneven earth below. This speed is not just beauty but safety, for few predators can match them among the high green corridors of the treetops. To watch a spider monkey in motion is to see gravity surrender, to feel the poetry of evolution written in motion and muscle. On another island far away, the Sifaka lemurs of Madagascar dance across the open ground with an elegance that feels almost rehearsed. In the trees they are acrobats, leaping from trunk to trunk with long, floating arcs that seem to defy weight. But on the ground, where their legs are too specialized for climbing to allow easy walking, they shift to a sideways hop. Upright, arms raised for balance, they move in bounding steps that look like a performance in white fur, every jump deliberate, every pause graceful. Their movement is a kind of dance born not from art but from necessity, yet it carries an effortless dignity, a reminder that survival can be beautiful too. In another canopy, colobus monkeys live quieter lives among the branches. They are leaf eaters, built for peace and patience rather than chase. Their hands, lacking full thumbs, form perfect hooks for swinging swiftly through branches without obstruction, turning what might seem a loss into a gift. Even their stomachs are divided like those of grazing animals, able to break down the toughest leaves in their endless green world. Theirs is a life of calm efficiency, no noise, no rush, only the quiet rhythm of digestion, sunlight, and leaves. But not all primate stories are about solitude. In the social hearts of some species, something remarkable unfolds: sharing. It begins in small gestures, one monkey offering food to another that is not family, not ally, but stranger. Sometimes this happens when a newcomer arrives, unsure and unwelcome. Instead of hostility, a resident extends a piece of fruit, a silent offering of peace. In this moment, tension dissolves and the forest holds its breath. These gestures are not just instinct. They are strategy and empathy, tiny sparks of social intelligence glowing among the trees. Among chimpanzees, memory itself becomes a map of relationship. They can see a face after decades and still remember the story written there: friend, rival, traitor, ally. When an old companion reappears, a chimp's reaction, joy, wariness, calm, is shaped not by the present but by the deep archive of emotion carried through years. This memory is survival, a living web of recognition that guides who receives grooming, who receives warning, who stands beside whom in moments of fear. Within their societies, loyalty and betrayal echo for years. Gorillas, too, carry deep feeling. When one of their own dies, the forest quiets around them. The group gathers, sitting close to the still form. Mothers have been seen holding their dead infants for days, carrying them gently, refusing to let go, as if waiting for a breath that will not return. Others approach with slow, deliberate touches, a hand resting on fur, a look that lingers too long to be mere curiosity. Their movements soften, their play ceases, and what settles in the air feels unmistakably like grief. In these moments, the boundary between human sorrow and animal mourning fades away, replaced by the shared silence of loss. Bonobos, our other great relatives, choose peace in a world where tension is easy to find. When food is scarce, when hunger gnaws at the belly, a bonobo might still offer its meal to another. Even to outsiders, even when the giver is hungry, the act repeats, a pattern of compassion stronger than instinct. This generosity is not weakness, it is a kind of strength that prevents conflict before it begins. In their world, sharing food is the beginning of peace, the soft language of coexistence. Where chimps rely on dominance, bonobos rely on kindness. Through a single fruit, they say, "You are safe here." Far above the rivers of Borneo and Sumatra, orangutans live alone but with minds as distinct and expressive as ours. Spend time among them and you begin to see it. One is playful, another patient, another moody and reserved. Some are curious, approaching with gentle eyes and clever hands. Others prefer solitude, watching from a high branch like philosophers lost in thought. Each personality endures across years, shaping how they build their nests, travel, and meet others. Their individuality is not a coincidence, it is a survival tool in a solitary life. Each one a world entire, defined by thought, temperament, and quiet will. They are not copies. They are selves. In the dense forests of Central America, Capuchin monkeys form tight circles of connection, where touch and emotion are part of the same language. When one is hurt, rejected, or frightened, another will approach softly, arms open, wrapping around the distressed companion in a hug that is both silent and eloquent. Sometimes the comfort comes as grooming, a slow, rhythmic act that calms the heart. It is not dominance, not demand, just reassurance. You are still part of us. These acts of empathy weave invisible threads through the group, keeping it whole. Without such care, their world of competition and noise would collapse. It is affection, more than strength, that holds them together. But not all emotions in primates are kind. In the same forests, grudges also bloom. A monkey denied food or pushed from a perch might remember that insult for years. When the chance comes later, to share or withhold, to help or ignore, it will choose accordingly. These long memories shape hierarchies and consequences, turning emotion into politics. A dominant rival today may find tomorrow's allies gone, loyalty replaced with quiet revenge. These grudges remind us that their societies are not simple. They are layered with justice, strategy, and feeling. Even without words, they remember, calculate, and decide who deserves forgiveness. Through all these lives, from the swinging spider monkeys to the still mourning gorillas, a single thread runs: awareness. It is not the awareness of logic or language, but something older, felt in the muscles and the heart. It hums beneath the skin of the forest. Each movement, each whisper, each shared glance tells us that intelligence is not only a matter of thought but of care, that emotion is not only human but ancient and shared. To watch them is to watch the beginnings of ourselves, the slow shaping of empathy, curiosity, and love. In every leap and lull, in every whispered call, the forest speaks through them, reminding us that we were never alone in our evolution. We were always part of this choir, voices of fur and hand and heart, each one carrying its note through time. When the night falls and the canopy darkens into blue shadow, the primates settle. The shifok curl into soft clusters against the trunks. The colobus drift to sleep, their stomachs working quietly. The orangutans fold leaves into nests high above the ground, rocking slightly in the breeze. Somewhere, a gibbon sings to its mate, a duet of devotion carried across miles. Each sound, each breath, is a thread in the living music of the world. Beneath that symphony of night, the forest dreams, of touch, of memory, of motion. The spider monkey dreams of flight, the gorilla of faces lost and remembered, the bonobo of peace. And if we listen closely enough, we can hear in all of it the faint echo of our own hearts answering back. It shows planning, restraint, and a kind of quiet, cold bookkeeping that stretches far beyond the moment. Gibbons mate for life and sing together every morning, their voices drifting through the forest mist like soft ribbons of sound. Many gibbon species form lifelong pair bonds, moving through the trees as one. A mated pair travels together, raises its young together, defends its home together, and greets each new sunrise with a duet that feels both ancient and intimate. Their voices intertwine in looping patterns that echo across long distances of green canopy. Their timing so precise it sounds rehearsed, yet it is instinct, a harmony learned from trust. Each partner knows exactly when to rise, when to fall, when to hold a note just long enough to let the other answer. The duet becomes a promise sung in air: this place is ours, and we belong to each other. Younger gibbons watch, listening from nearby branches, learning the local melody the way a child hums a tune they love. Their practice songs echo softly through the leaves, an early rehearsal for love and belonging. The duet is not just music, it is memory made audible, a living record of connection and care. In another corner of the primate world, marmoset fathers carry their babies almost all the time. Where most primate mothers shoulder the weight of care alone, marmosets share the work in a way that feels almost human in its gentleness. Fathers and older siblings take turns carrying their tiny infants for hours, their little hands clinging to warm fur, their eyes half closed in trust. The mother steps in mainly to nurse, before the baby returns to the arms of the father or a helper. This shared rhythm spreads the labor of parenthood across the whole family, and it gives the mother space to heal, which is vital because marmosets often give birth to twins. The constant carrying by many hands teaches the infants from their first breath that life is made of connection. They grow up knowing the smell and heartbeat of every family member, cradled by a circle of warmth that feels like the first lesson in community. In their small bodies beats the memory of countless touches, countless shared efforts that whisper, "None of us are alone." Far away in Madagascar, lemurs live by a different rule, one that turns much of the animal world upside down. Among many lemur species, it is the females who lead. Matriarchs decide where the group feeds, where it travels, and when it rests beneath the trees. A dominant female may displace males from food, her confidence steady and unchallenged. If her authority is tested, she defends it without hesitation. This leadership structure shapes every aspect of their daily survival and ensures that generations grow under the guidance of mothers who know the land. In seasons of hardship, when the dry months stretch too long and fruits are scarce, this matriarchal order can mean the difference between life and loss. Young lemurs learn early who leads, who follows, and how to move within the quiet hierarchy of their troop. Theirs is a world both cooperative and precise, where strength is measured in wisdom and care. Humans, too, are woven from this ancient family of primates, our DNA whispering stories of kinship that reach across time. We share about 98% of our genetic code with chimpanzees, our closest living relatives. The difference between us and them is so small it hides in the spaces between how genes are turned on or off, in the fine adjustments of proteins that shape our brains and muscles. This closeness is visible not only in our faces or hands, but in laughter, in mourning, in thought. Chimpanzees laugh when tickled, grieve when a friend dies, and solve problems through logic and patience. They forge alliances, remember kindness, and carry grudges. Our shared DNA links us in vulnerability, to disease, to aging, to the slow wearing down of body and memory. It reminds us that humanity is not a new creation, but one branch of an ancient tree that still flowers in the forests of today. Every gesture a chimp makes, from curiosity to comfort, holds a reflection of us, a molecular echo of the same emotions written deep within our blood. Bonobos, their gentle cousins, bring yet another mirror to the human soul. Their brains, relative to body size, are almost identical to ours, and their intelligence glows not through conquest but through compassion. Bonobos live in societies that favor peace over dominance, affection over aggression. When conflicts rise, they often resolve them through touch, through eye contact, through gestures of calm that ripple like sighs through the group. They recognize patterns, remember faces, and use communication not to control, but to understand. Their emotional range suggests an early morality, a quiet sense of rightness rooted in empathy. When a bonobo shares food or grooms another, it is not a reflex of survival, but a choice that keeps harmony alive. Their closeness to us shows that intelligence is not measured by how we rule others, but how gently we treat them. In this way, bonobos show another possible version of humanity, one guided not by fear or dominance, but by warmth. Gorillas, the giants among apes, share with us a far more personal connection, identity written on the fingertips. Every gorilla has unique fingerprints, each ridge and whorl forming a pattern that belongs to no other creature on Earth. Even identical twins among humans differ in this way, and so do gorillas. These subtle spirals serve the same function in both species, helping grip, sense texture, and interact with the physical world in delicate precision. Scientists can identify individuals by their prints left on bark or surfaces, much like detectives read human identity from traces left behind. These prints form before birth and never change, a signature carved by nature's own hand. No weather, no life event can erase them. To hold a gorilla's hand is to see, up close, the same loops of individuality that mark our own, a shared fingerprint of ancestry millions of years deep. It reminds us that the idea of identity, of selfhood, is not a human invention, but an ancient gift already written in the skin of beings who shaped their world with tenderness. Some monkeys, too, show this strange self-awareness. When they face a mirror, a few recognize that the image staring back is not another creature, but themselves. This realization, simple as it seems, marks a leap in consciousness. Most animals, when shown a reflection, react as if confronting a rival or stranger. But certain monkeys, like rhesus macaques trained gently with mirrors and markings, do something different. They touch the mark on their own body, not the glass. They know. In that instant, the line between animal and person blurs. The mirror becomes a window into the mind. To recognize oneself is to remember, to compare, to think in layers, to understand that I exist. It is the root of empathy, for to know yourself is the first step toward knowing others. In the still water of a mirror, a monkey meets its own gaze and sees not threat, but being. It is a fragile spark of awareness glowing in fur and flesh, as delicate and astonishing as any human thought. The human story, too, carries its beginnings in these reflections of ancestry. Our lineage split from that of chimpanzees roughly 6 million years ago, an unimaginable stretch of time marked not by sudden change, but by slow adaptation. Somewhere in deep prehistory, a population of ape-like ancestors began to diverge. Some stayed in the lush forests, moving with the grace of branches and shadow. Others ventured into open ground, where grasslands stretched under the sun. Over thousands of generations, that small difference in habitat shaped everything: how they moved, what they ate, how they thought. The forest dwellers remained what we would one day call chimpanzees. The explorers of the plains became us. Fossils tell this story in fragments: pieces of skull, tooth, and bones scattered through the silence of Earth. Each discovery narrows the space between them and us, showing not a clean break, but a shared unfolding. We did not replace our cousins. We evolved beside them, each lineage carrying forward part of the same original wisdom. The blood that beats within us carries echoes of that common ancestor, a rhythm that has never stopped. Yet our story stretches even farther back, to the small, wide-eyed creatures who once darted through the forests of a warming planet after the fall of the dinosaurs. More than 60 million years ago, when the Earth still shimmered with the memory of that ancient extinction, early primates appeared. Tiny, shrew-like beings with grasping fingers, flexible wrists, and forward-facing eyes. They were the first mammals to truly live among the trees, tasting fruit, chasing insects, and leaping through green worlds of endless possibility. From these ancestors came the earliest split, the one that sent lemurs toward Madagascar and the rest of the primates toward Africa and beyond. The lemurs, isolated by ocean, became keepers of that ancient form, evolving into hundreds of unique species that preserve traits once shared by all. To see a lemur today is to glimpse the face of prehistory, a creature that remembers a time before continents finished drifting into their modern shape. And in those small hands, that bright gaze, we can almost see the blueprint of everything that would follow. These early primates were among the first mammals to perceive the world in color. Where most mammals saw only shades of gray, primates evolved the ability to sense the full spectrum of light. Imagine the wonder of that first awakening, to see the crimson of a ripe fruit against the green of leaves, to tell the difference between sunlit gold and shadowed blue. That gift of color vision reshaped their world and, in time, ours. It allowed them to find food, judge ripeness, and communicate through subtle signals of hue and shade. Vision became language long before speech existed. The world itself began to sing in color. And so, from forest dawns to mirrored reflections, from duets in the mist to fingerprints in the dark, the story of primates remains a quiet meditation on connection. It is the tale of minds awakening slowly, of hands learning to hold not just branches, but each other. It is a song of evolution that hums with patience and tenderness. Every primate alive today, from the smallest lemur to the towering gorilla, carries a fragment of that melody, each voice joining the chorus of life that began so long ago. And somewhere within that music, carried in our own cells, the harmony continues, a gentle reminder that we are still part of the same great forest of thought, still singing the same ancient song. The story of color and vision began with hunger. Long ago, in ancient forests drenched in shifting light, early fruit-eating primates, faced a simple but profound challenge: how to find ripeness among a sea of green. Those who could see better, who could notice the subtle blush of red or the deepening hue of orange, had a silent advantage. Over time, evolution sharpened their eyes, gifting them 3 kinds of color receptors instead of 2, allowing them to see reds, greens, and blues as separate songs that could blend into a vivid, detailed world. With color came understanding. They could now tell a ripe fruit from an unripe one, see the soft flush of another's skin, read emotion in a face or readiness in a glance. The forest changed for them, not just a place of shapes and shadows, but a living gallery painted in light. Each sunrise glowed with new meaning, each flower carried silent information. This burst of color perception was not merely aesthetic. It was survival, intimacy, and intelligence awakening all at once. Every sunset seen through human eyes carries that ancient inheritance, a reminder that beauty itself began as a guide for nourishment, an art born from hunger beneath the green roofs of prehistoric forests. The earliest primates who carried this gift were small and unassuming, creatures more like shrews than monkeys, darting silently through branches under the calm gaze of the moon. They lived about 65 million years ago, during the slow recovery of a wounded planet, after the dinosaurs had vanished and the earth was covered in the tender green of returning forests. These tiny beings were nocturnal, with large reflective eyes that caught moonlight, flexible fingers that clung to bark, and tails that balanced them as they leapt through the dark. Fossils whisper of their size, so small they could curl inside a human hand, yet their brains were already larger than most creatures of their weight. Something new was stirring behind those bright eyes: awareness, memory, curiosity. They chased insects and tasted fruit, feeling their world not just through instinct but through decision. From such delicate bodies would come all the vast diversity of primates: the lemurs, the monkeys, the apes, and finally, the humans who would one day look back and name them ancestors. These first dreamers of the branches transformed the forest into a quiet laboratory of intelligence, testing every motion, every sense, until life itself learned how to think. It seems impossible now, but fossils tell us that some ancient primates once lived near what we call the Arctic Circle. During the Eocene epoch, about 50 million years ago, the world was much warmer, and forests reached deep into regions now buried under snow and silence. There, in what is now Canada and Greenland, scientists have found the fragile remains of tiny teeth and jaw fragments belonging to primates who once thrived beneath long months of twilight. Imagine that. A world of endless dusk where small, clever mammals moved through moss and ferns in a glow that was neither day nor night. They lived through long winters and brief, bright summers, adapting to cooler air, learning to eat what was available, and perhaps huddling close for warmth when the light disappeared. The polar forests of that time would have shimmered with strange colors: dim green under soft auroras, orange light reflecting off dew and fur. For primates to exist there shows not just endurance, but imagination. Life, when given warmth and time, will always reach farther than expected. These little Arctic dwellers remind us that intelligence was never bound by temperature or terrain. It is a fire that burns wherever curiosity survives. And curiosity became the thread that tied all primate minds together. To study them is to trace the slow unfolding of thought itself, from instinct to invention. Intelligence did not appear suddenly in humans. It grew like ivy, winding its way through species over millions of years. Chimpanzees show how tools can become traditions. Capuchins reveal the earliest sparks of fairness and foresight. Orangutans demonstrate planning, patience, and comfort with solitude. Even lemurs and tarsiers show signs of reasoning, emotion, and complex decision-making. Each species carries a clue, a verse in the great story of cognition's awakening. Scientists compare their brains, their social behaviors, their gestures, and find patterns that reveal how awareness was sculpted from the clay of time. They show how cooperation built learning, how empathy built communication, and how curiosity itself, this endless reaching toward the unknown, became the true engine of evolution. When we watch a monkey work out how to open a shell, or a gibbon judge the distance between branches before swinging, we are witnessing echoes of the long apprenticeship that eventually shaped our own minds. Each problem solved by a primate somewhere in the world is another spark in the long chain of thought that led to reason, art, and reflection. Among these tool-using primates, Capuchins stand out not just for intelligence, but for preparation. They don't simply grab the nearest stone, they test, compare, and decide. They feel the texture, weigh the balance, listen to the sound it makes when struck against another surface. When they find one that feels right, they keep it, sometimes carrying it long distances or returning to the same location again and again to use it. This behavior reveals one of the rarest mental abilities in the animal kingdom: planning for the future. To save a tool for later means to imagine tomorrow, to foresee a need that has not yet arrived. In that quiet foresight lies a trace of human thinking, the same spark that would one day build villages, carve statues, and write symphonies. The capuchin, perched upon a rock, pounding rhythmically with the patience of a sculptor, carries in its small hands the memory of what intelligence was before words existed. Elsewhere in the rain-drenched forests of Southeast Asia, orangutans have learned another form of gentle invention. When storms roll across the treetops, they break off large leaves and hold them above their heads as umbrellas. The act is not random, it is repeated across individuals, suggesting that knowledge passes from one to another. Some even fold the leaves into layers for better coverage, or use them to shield the infants clinging to their chests. The same creativity that leads them to make tools for protection also appears in comfort. They use leafy branches to wipe themselves after eating sticky fruit, a natural napkin born from observation. Every leaf umbrella, every improvised cloth, shows a flexible mind that does not merely adapt to the environment, but reshapes it for convenience. It is as if each rain shower becomes a small test of ingenuity, each droplet inviting a new idea. The forest becomes both home and teacher, whispering through rain and wind, and the orangutans, calm and patient, listen well. Their gentle problem-solving tells a story of intelligence shaped not by conquest, but by care. Chimpanzees, our closest living relatives, take this creativity one step further. In some regions, they have been observed sharpening sticks into points and using them as spears. They chew one end of the branch to make it firm and tapered, then jab it into tree hollows where small mammals hide. When they pull it out, they inspect the tip for signs of fur or blood, an act of deduction as deliberate as any hunter's. This behavior shows imagination, the ability to extend one's physical reach through invention. It is one of the earliest examples of a non-human species creating a weapon, yet it is used with calm precision rather than violence. Interestingly, this innovation often appears among females more than males, suggesting that necessity, not aggression, drives discovery. The lesson is profound: curiosity, not dominance, may have been the first spark of invention. The sharpened stick, held in a chimp's hand, becomes a bridge between instinct and technology. A reminder that the tools we build are born from thought, not just need. Gorillas, too, show quiet reasoning in their daily movements. When they come across streams or puddles of uncertain depth, some have been seen picking up sticks or reeds to test the water before crossing. They lower the branch gently, watching the ripples, gauging resistance, learning before they leap. It is a simple act, yet it speaks volumes about awareness. They are experimenting, gathering data, and adjusting their behavior based on observation. This is the essence of reasoning: to predict, to test, to adapt. Such intelligence prevents mistakes, saves energy, and adds a touch of mindfulness to survival. In those still forests, as a silverback pauses by the water, lifting a stick like a scientist testing the unknown, we see reflected the same curiosity that once drove early humans to measure, to question, to wonder. Across time and species, the instinct to think before acting has always been a kind of grace. The story of primates is the story of thought itself, a long and patient evolution of awareness unfolding beneath leaves and sky. From the first flicker of color vision to the tapping of stones, from the rain shelters of orangutans to the measured testing of gorillas, intelligence has been rising, one quiet gesture at a time. Each act of creativity, no matter how small, carries the same message: life is not content to exist, it seeks to understand. Through them, we see the mirror of our own beginnings, not in dominance or speech, but in the quiet courage to observe and learn. The forest remembers all of it, The shimmer of early eyes catching light, the soft strike of stone on shell, the shadowed figure of an ape beneath the rain. Each moment hums with thought, echoing softly through the branches, a lullaby from our distant past reminding us that wisdom began not in words, but in wonder. The sight of a massive silverback gorilla kneeling beside a quiet stream, dipping his hand into the rippling surface to test the depth before crossing, is something that feels almost sacred. In that careful motion lies both practicality and poetry, a whisper of thought that bridges instinct and intelligence. Though rare among gorillas, this subtle act of tool use, breaking a branch, measuring the unknown with touch before trust, reveals that wisdom need not always roar through invention, sometimes it hums gently through patience. Intelligence, in its truest form, often arrives not as grand discovery, but as stillness, a pause, a choice to think before leaping into uncertainty. This small ritual of caution mirrors something profoundly human, a recognition that awareness itself is the first tool life ever learned to hold. In Japan, during the middle of the 20th century, scientists made a quiet but extraordinary discovery while studying a troop of macaques. One young female, curious and observant, began dipping her sandy sweet potatoes in the river before eating them. She had learned, by simple chance or discomfort, that the water could wash away the grit and make her food taste better. Others watched her do it and began to copy her. Within months, her habit became the troop's habit, and within a few years it had spread to younger generations. Even more remarkable, the monkeys later carried their food to the seashore and began rinsing it in salt water, preferring the enhanced flavor. This moment, so unassuming, became one of the first recorded examples of cultural transmission in non-human primates. A single act of curiosity evolving into shared knowledge, a tradition born from observation. It was a story that showed how ideas can ripple outward, how learning can leap from one mind to another like light crossing the forest floor. A small hand dipping a potato into the sea quietly rewrote what humanity thought animals were capable of. Such moments reveal that innovation does not require technology, only imagination. In another part of the world, monkeys have been seen breaking off small branches, stripping away leaves, and using them to scratch places on their backs their fingers cannot reach. They experiment, adjust the pressure, find the right angle, and scratch until satisfaction blooms. This simple act, so personal and relatable, carries the roots of creativity. It shows a mind that can recognize discomfort, imagine relief, and shape the world to achieve it. That's the seed of problem solving, the same chain of thought that would one day build tools, shelters, and civilizations. Some monkeys even save their favorite scratching sticks, keeping them nearby for later use, an echo of foresight and ownership. Comfort and ingenuity, it seems, are woven from the same thread. The mind that seeks ease is the mind that invents. And even in the smallest corners of life, from a jungle branch to a human bedroom, that desire to improve, to make things just a little better, glows as a quiet spark of intelligence. In the heart of rainforests, where the air hums with life and the trees rise like cathedrals, chimpanzees have been seen fashioning leafy sponges to drink from tree hollows after a storm. They pluck handfuls of soft leaves, fold and twist them into wads, and dip them into the collected rainwater. The leaves soak up the liquid, forming a sponge that can be lifted to the mouth and gently squeezed. The act is graceful, efficient, and full of understanding. Some chimps adjust the sponge depending on the depth of the hollow or the texture of the leaves, choosing the ones that hold more water or fit the opening better. Young chimpanzees watch their elders perform the task, learning through imitation, and soon crafting their own. Each leafy sponge becomes both a tool and a lesson, proof that innovation can arise wherever patience meets need. In each sip, you can almost hear the rhythm of evolution, the slow, thoughtful heartbeat of creativity learning to take shape. Thousands of miles away, orangutans in the dense forests of Indonesia once startled researchers with their own surprising display of imitation. They had watched humans nearby using small wooden canoes to cross rivers. Patiently, they observed how the boats moved, how the paddles cut the water, how balance kept the vessel steady. One day, when the boats were left unattended, the orangutans climbed in. They experimented, pushing off the banks, using branches as makeshift paddles, and even managing to move short distances across calm waters. No one had taught them. It was pure observation transformed into action. In that image, a great orange ape sitting upright in a canoe, paddling slowly through still water, there is something hauntingly beautiful. It feels like watching thought itself evolve, like seeing curiosity take physical form. The orangutan's gesture captures what it means to learn, to see, to wonder, and to try. Tool use among primates, we now know, did not begin with humanity. Fossil evidence tells us that long before humans carved stone or struck flint, other primates were already experimenting with the world around them. Archaeologists have uncovered ancient stones in Africa and South America marked by wear patterns identical to those made by modern capuchin monkeys cracking nuts. These primitive tools date back thousands, perhaps millions, of years. It seems that the spark of invention was not a sudden leap but a slow-burning flame, passed from hand to hand across time. Every rhythmic strike of stone on shell was another note in the long song of intelligence, echoing forward into the future where it would eventually become art, architecture, and science. The drive to experiment, to see what happens when you try something new, is one of the oldest instincts life ever created. Long before fire, there was curiosity. And curiosity, it seems, has always been the quiet engine of survival. In the lush forests of Asia, nature offers even gentler lessons of cooperation. Certain macaques and lemurs have been observed forming friendships with deer and wild boars. These strange partnerships are neither trained nor forced. They arise naturally, born of mutual benefit. The monkeys perch on the backs of their larger companions, picking insects from their fur and dropping bits of fruit to the ground for the animals to eat. The deer, in turn, offer safety and mobility, their presence deterring predators and giving the monkeys a moving platform. In some regions, wild boars follow the monkeys through the undergrowth, waiting for fruit and nuts to fall from the branches above. These are not random coincidences but living examples of trust and understanding that cross the boundaries of species. Two very different creatures find rhythm together, communicating not with words but with gestures and presence. In their shared quiet, one can almost hear the universal language of life, connection. Capuchin monkeys, ever clever and social, express emotion in ways that blend intelligence with drama. In the forests of Brazil, researchers have watched them pick up stones and throw them, not at random, but with intent. Sometimes it's a show of strength, a display meant to assert dominance or test a rival. Other times, a female throws stones toward a male to attract his attention, transforming what might seem like aggression into a playful or communicative act. Each throw is measured, deliberate. The capuchins choose stones of the right size and weight, aim with surprising accuracy, and often repeat the act until they get the desired response. This simple yet purposeful act mirrors the roots of symbolic communication, the use of an action to convey meaning beyond instinct. A thrown stone becomes a message, a gesture that says, "I am here, I see you, and I want to be seen." It's a striking reminder that emotion and thought are not confined to words. They are woven into movement, color, and sound throughout the animal world. For mandrills, that message is written not in action but in light. These magnificent primates, with faces painted by nature itself, display status and vitality through the brightness of their colors. The most dominant males have the boldest hues, bands of electric blue and deep crimson across their faces, framed by golden fur. Their colors are not random decoration, they're living signals. Hormones linked to health and strength influence pigmentation, and when a mandrill's dominance rises, his colors intensify, blazing like a crown of living fire. When his power fades, the colors dim within weeks. This biological light show functions as both armor and announcement, reducing the need for constant fighting by making power visible at a glance. In the dim undergrowth of the jungle, where sound is swallowed by leaves, a flash of color becomes a voice that says everything. To human eyes, the mandrill seems painted, but to its peers, it speaks in the oldest language of all, color as communication, evolution's silent masterpiece. Meanwhile, baboons build their lives upon the intricate foundations of society. In the sun-baked plains and rocky hills of Africa, they live in troops bound by hierarchy, trust, and subtle politics. Every troop has its dominant males, its matriarchal lines, and its network of allies that shift like tides. Power among baboons is rarely simple. It is maintained through gestures, glances, and mutual grooming. A single bowed head or a gentle touch can mend a rivalry or forge a bond. Mothers teach their young not just how to find food, but how to read expressions, navigate rank, and form coalitions. Within these societies, intelligence is expressed not only in tools or problem solving, but in empathy, the ability to sense another's emotion and respond in kind. Their social systems, complex and dynamic, mirror the early architecture of human civilization. Through them we see that intellect did not emerge in isolation but grew alongside cooperation. Intelligence, after all, thrives not in solitude but in connection. And so, across forests, mountains, and islands, the story of primate intelligence continues to unfold, not as a ladder leading to humanity, but as a vast network of thought, each species exploring its own path toward awareness. From the gorilla's cautious probe of the water to the orangutan's paddle in the canoe, from the capuchin's chosen stone to the mandrill's glowing face, every act tells a chapter of the same grand story, life thinking about itself. Intelligence is not a crown worn by humans alone. It is a whisper shared by countless generations of creatures who learned, step by step, to notice, to imagine, and to create. And as night falls over the forests where they move, the echoes of their minds, soft as a sigh, deep as time, continue to remind us that we are not separate from them, but part of the same long dream of thought awakening beneath the stars. In the delicate societies of primates, conflict is as natural as the rhythm of breath, yet it rarely breaks into chaos. Disagreements are frequent, but they are most often solved not through endless fighting, but through gestures, displays, and quiet negotiations that preserve the fragile peace of the group. Beneath the canopy, where light shifts to green and gold, the world of primates unfolds like a living theater of politics, loyalty, deception, and affection. The complexity of their social hierarchies rivals that of the earliest human communities, and every dawn brings a fresh play of survival acted out through social skill. To watch a baboon troop awaken in the pale morning light is to glimpse intelligence moving as a single, breathing organism, a civilization woven from instinct, memory, and a silent understanding of order. Among the Ethiopian highlands, geladas gather on the steep cliffs where the earth meets the sky, their herds so vast that from a distance they resemble waves of fur rippling across the green slopes. Hundreds of individuals come together, each belonging to smaller family units called bands, each band built upon networks of friendship, play, and protection. Their gatherings are not random. Every movement, every sound has meaning. Communication hums through the air in a symphony of soft calls, glances, and subtle flicks of fingers. It is a world where meaning moves faster than sound, where harmony depends upon understanding one another's silence. When danger approaches, perhaps a shadow in the grass or the cry of a distant eagle, the alarm ripples outward like wind on water, and in an instant, hundreds of bodies shift as one. It is as though thought itself has taken form, spreading from mind to mind without words. This level of coordination, rare even among primates, transforms the harsh mountain environment into a landscape of unity and shared awareness. It is a reminder that cooperation is as ancient as survival itself. Far away, in the dense rainforests of Borneo and Sumatra, a very different voice echoes between the trees, the long, resonant call of the male orangutan. Deep and booming, it begins as a pulse in the chest and rolls outward, rising into a melody of echoes that can carry for miles through the thick jungle air. Each call is both a warning and an invitation, both a song of territory and a declaration of confidence. The great males, with their broad cheek pads and powerful throats, are built to command the air itself. Their calls vibrate through the forest like a heartbeat, announcing their presence to rivals and beckoning females from far away. In that voice is the shape of identity, a sound sculpted by evolution to travel farther than sight. Even when the orangutan is hidden high in the trees, invisible behind the vast curtains of leaves, his voice carves an invisible map of belonging, an audible kingdom where presence is known by sound alone. In another part of the forest, a softer kind of power reigns. Among the bonobos, leadership flows not through violence but through care. It is the females who guide, protect, and hold the society together. Their power lies not in physical dominance but in cooperation, alliances of friendship that weave stability through the group like invisible threads. Adult males stay close to their mothers all their lives, and a mother's influence often determines her son's place among others. When disagreements arise, they are rarely solved by force. Instead, they are quieted through shared grooming, gentle play, or the simple offering of food. This balance creates a culture of peace that feels almost like an echo from another world, a living proof that intelligence can express itself through empathy just as powerfully as through strength. In the gentle leadership of bonobos, we glimpse the deep evolutionary truth that care, too, is a form of survival. The chimpanzees, close cousins to both bonobos and humans, show yet another dimension of social intelligence. In their communities, dominance is rarely achieved through brute force alone. The most successful leaders are not merely the strongest, they are the most perceptive, the ones who understand emotion, alliance, and timing. Leadership here is a constant negotiation, a dance of favors and signals. A dominant chimpanzee knows when to show strength and when to show restraint, when to groom a rival or share food to win loyalty. Many rise to power through quiet strategy, and when they grow old, some remain influential as mediators, guiding younger males and calming disputes with experience rather than aggression. Watching such a leader maintain order without a fight feels like witnessing the first faint outlines of human politics, drawn not in speeches, but in glances, gestures, and trust. In the misty forests where gorillas dwell, power is expressed through sound rather than blood. When tension builds, the great males stand tall, inflate their chests, and begin to beat them rhythmically with cupped hands. The sound rolls across the forest like distant thunder, deep and resonant, each rhythm unique to the individual. This chest-beating display, though dramatic, is not violence, it is communication. It warns rivals, reassures families, and prevents conflict before it begins. The forest listens, and so does the troop. The challenger backs down, calm returns, and life continues in balance. What might appear to human eyes as aggression is, in truth, the art of restraint, the wisdom to display power without destruction. The sound fades, the leaves still, and the air feels momentarily peaceful again, as though the forest itself has exhaled in relief. In Madagascar's wild forests, lemurs live in societies that depend on the quiet authority of matriarchs. A single female often holds the group together, guiding them toward food, rest, and safety. Her knowledge is the thread that keeps the troop from unraveling. When such a leader dies unexpectedly, the social fabric can collapse in days. Without her guidance, males drift apart, younger females compete, and the group's fragile unity splinters. It can take years for a new matriarch to emerge and restore stability. The loss of one leader can echo through generations, like a tree falling and leaving a gap in the canopy through which the light feels strange and new. In those moments, the forest grows quieter, almost reverent, as if aware that something precious, a memory, a voice of continuity, has gone. Leadership, even in the smallest primates, is never just about control. It is about care, memory, and connection. But primate intelligence does not only appear in the structure of families or the calm after conflict. Sometimes it shows itself in mischief, in curiosity, in the delight of play. In parts of Asia, macaques living near temples and markets have discovered the art of barter. With nimble fingers and watchful eyes, they steal sunglasses, hats, or phones from unsuspecting visitors, and then sit patiently, waiting for negotiation. When humans offer food, the macaques return the stolen treasure, often with a look of satisfaction, as if proud of their trade. Researchers observing these interactions have discovered something astonishing. The cleverest monkeys target the most valuable objects, knowing that they can bargain for better rewards. This is not chaos, it is commerce. A social game between species. Here, in the narrow alleys of sacred temples and busy markets, humans and monkeys participate in a strange exchange of intelligence, a shared understanding of value, trust, and cunning. In Japan, another group of macaques has found wonder in human invention. Near the coastal parks, they have learned to use vending machines. After watching people insert coins and receive treats, the monkeys began to mimic the sequence, collecting coins, pushing buttons, and waiting for the prize. It is not survival that drives them, but curiosity. Their eyes follow the process with fascination, their small hands moving with intent and precision. When a coin drops, they reach for it. When the machine hums, they wait with anticipation. Some even gather coins from the ground, understanding the connection between object and reward. This behavior is more than imitation, it is a demonstration of how curiosity shapes intelligence. The vending machine, to them, is a tree of metal fruit that responds to patience and understanding. And in that discovery, the boundary between the natural and the artificial seems to blur. Far above the forest floor, another kind of awareness stirs. Orangutans, those quiet thinkers of the canopy, have shown the ability to recognize themselves in television screens. When shown videos of their reflections, they respond not with confusion but with recognition. They touch their faces, tilt their heads, and adjust their postures, as though confirming that the being on the screen is, in fact, themselves. Sometimes they even look behind the monitor, curious about how the image appears. This act, simple yet profound, reveals self-awareness, one of the rarest forms of cognition in the animal world. It means they not only exist, but know they exist. To look into one's reflection and see the self is to awaken a small spark of imagination, the ability to perceive one's mind as separate from the world. In that quiet act of recognition, an orangutan experiences something deeply human, the realization that it is both subject and observer, both part of nature and apart from it. In laboratories, another revelation has come from capuchin monkeys, small but fiercely intelligent creatures with an unshakable sense of fairness. In a simple experiment, pairs of capuchins were asked to hand stones to researchers. When both were rewarded equally, with grapes or cucumber, they cooperated happily. But when one received a better reward than the other, the slighted monkey often refused to continue. Some threw the stone away or turned their backs in protest, as if saying, "This is not fair." Such behavior reflects a moral awareness once thought to be uniquely human, the understanding of justice. To sense inequality and react against it requires empathy, comparison, and emotional depth. It is the early echo of ethics, a glimpse of the moral roots that bind all social beings together. Across species and continents, from the roaring calls of orangutans to the delicate diplomacy of bonobos, from the wisdom of matriarchal lemurs to the mischievous trades of macaques, primates show that intelligence is not a single flame but a constellation of lights, each flickering in its own rhythm. Their lives are not random but patterned, built upon the same foundations that once shaped the story of humanity: cooperation, awareness, and imagination. They remind us that to live socially is to live thoughtfully, that power can exist in restraint, that peace can be maintained through kindness, and that curiosity can become a form of creation. The forests, jungles, and mountains they inhabit are not silent. They hum with languages of glance and gesture, of sound and stillness, of knowing and being known. Each troop, each call, each stolen coin or shared meal adds another thread to the endless tapestry of life's intelligence. As dusk falls and the last rays of sunlight fade into shadow, the primate world settles into quiet reflection. The geladas huddle together on the cliffs, the orangutans curl into nests high above the ground, the bonobos groom softly under the canopy's glow. Even the macaques, ever curious, drift into calm beside the silent vending machines. In that fading light, one can almost feel the continuity between their minds and ours, a shared legacy of thought, feeling, and connection stretching back through millions of years. To listen to the world of primates is to listen to the early murmurs of our own story, a story not of dominance, but of delicate understanding. And as the forest breathes beneath the moonlight, it feels as if the minds within it are dreaming together, carrying the old wisdom that survival, in the end, has always been about harmony. Fairness, empathy, and communication are not human inventions. They are ancient roots that stretch deep into the primate mind, connecting us with a lineage of feeling and understanding that began long before words existed. In experiments with capuchin monkeys, scientists observed a reaction so familiar it felt human. When one monkey received a lesser reward than another for the same task, it threw its food in protest or turned away in visible frustration. That act of refusal, so small yet so profound, revealed something extraordinary. the ability to recognize inequality and to respond emotionally to it. Fairness, it seems, is not learned through rules but through relationships. In the wild, this sense of justice helps maintain social harmony by discouraging selfishness and rewarding cooperation. Each act of fairness strengthens trust, binding the group together in invisible ways. Justice, it turns out, grows not in laws or language, but wherever living beings depend on one another to survive. This moral spark, glowing softly within the social mind, may be one of evolution's most beautiful gifts, the seed from which empathy, community, and compassion all blossom. Among the most revealing examples of understanding across species is the bonobo's ability to interpret human gestures. When a person points toward an object, most animals either stare at the hand or ignore the motion entirely. But the bonobo understands that the gesture means more than its movement. It is a sign, a message pointing beyond itself. They look in the indicated direction, seeking what the person intends them to see. This requires something remarkable: perspective-taking, the ability to imagine what another being knows or sees. Among themselves, bonobos use similar gestures to guide attention toward food, companions, or play, showing that they share this symbolic understanding within their own social world. When they grasp a human's point, they bridge millions of years of evolutionary distance through a single, silent act of comprehension. That brief moment of shared direction, one finger extended, one gaze followed, is a thread connecting two minds across time, a glimmer of the same cooperation that once allowed humanity itself to build trust, teamwork, and civilization. In other places, gorillas have gone even further, learning to use a version of human sign language to express thoughts and emotions. Over decades, patient researchers taught gorillas simple hand signs for words like food, drink, friend, and sad. Slowly, they began to communicate their needs, feelings, and even imagination. Some gorillas have invented new combinations of signs to describe ideas or objects for which they had no word, proving that they are not merely mimicking but thinking symbolically. When a gorilla signs food or friend, it is not repeating a command, it is reaching outward with meaning. These silent conversations between humans and gorillas dissolve the barrier between species, revealing a deep intelligence that lives in gesture and empathy rather than in sound. Language, it turns out, is not confined to the voice. It can live in movement, in eye contact, in the patient meeting of minds. When a gorilla signs love, it is not an imitation, it is a feeling made visible. Chimpanzees, our closest living relatives, demonstrate another kind of intelligence, memory shaped by time and space. In the sprawling forests of Africa, they travel across miles of tangled vegetation, yet they rarely get lost. They remember where every fruiting tree stands, when each will ripen, and how long the food will last. Their mental maps are vast and intricate, linking not just locations but seasons, events, and experiences. Using GPS trackers, scientists have confirmed that chimpanzees do not wander aimlessly. They plan efficient routes, taking the shortest path between resources and adjusting their course when obstacles appear. Such foresight reveals a mind that moves through both space and time, one capable of planning, recalling, and anticipating. Each journey is not random but a demonstration of patience and awareness, as though every tree and hill exists twice, once in the forest, and once within the mind. Through these maps of memory, the chimpanzee lives not only in the present moment but in a continuum of remembered landscapes, a quiet rhythm of thought that binds the animal to its world with understanding as deep as instinct. In primate societies, emotions are not weaknesses but tools for survival. Some monkeys have been observed showing behaviors that look like empathy and even guilt. In groups where relationships are essential, they must learn to read one another's moods and to repair harm when it occurs. When a monkey accidentally hurts another, it may approach softly afterward, avoiding eye contact, touching gently, and offering comfort. Others will groom or sit beside the distressed individual until calm returns. These gestures are more than instinct, they are apologies in a language without words. Scientists see in these acts the beginnings of conscience, a recognition that one's behavior can cause pain and that it can be mended. In this quiet empathy, the earliest roots of morality take form. To care for another, to feel their pain, and to seek reconciliation. These are the same emotional threads that bind human families, friendships, and communities. In the wild, such emotions hold social groups together more firmly than any rule or hierarchy ever could. Just as empathy connects individuals, sound connects communities. Many monkeys speak their own regional dialects, subtle variations in tone, rhythm, and pitch that differ from one forest to another. Within the same species, calls can sound noticeably distinct across distances, like the regional accents of human speech. Young monkeys learn the specific call patterns of their group by listening to elders, meaning these dialects are passed culturally rather than genetically. When a monkey migrates to a new group, it often begins adjusting its calls to match its new companions, blending its voice into the local song. This ability to adapt linguistically shows both intelligence and belonging. These dialects allow groups to identify one another, to build bonds, and to maintain social cohesion. Every forest becomes its own soundscape, a chorus of regional voices passed down through generations. To walk among them is to pass through shifting languages of the living world, each one shaped by memory, imitation, and connection. Even technology, it seems, is no barrier to primate curiosity. When researchers showed apes and monkeys videos of their peers solving problems or using tools, many of them learned to imitate the behaviors afterward, proving that they could learn from screens just as humans do. They watched carefully, studied the movements, and applied them in real life without direct teaching. Some even recognized individuals on the screen, responding differently to familiar faces than to strangers. This capacity to translate flat images into real-world actions is a leap of cognition, showing how imagination extends learning beyond immediate experience. The screen becomes a new kind of teacher, a glowing window into another mind. For creatures whose lives already revolve around observation and imitation, video learning is not unnatural. It is the next step in a very ancient habit: to watch, to think, and to remember. In their eyes, one can almost see the same spark of wonder that first drew humans towards storytelling and discovery. Among the vast diversity of primates, few contrast so sharply as the pygmy marmoset and the mandrill, the smallest and largest monkeys on Earth. The pygmy marmoset, barely the weight of a bar of soap, lives high in the tangled rainforests of the Amazon basin. With bodies no longer than a human finger, these tiny beings move through the trees like living sparks, quick and deliberate. They feed on tree sap, insects, and fruit, using their sharp lower teeth like chisels to carve small holes in bark so that sap may flow. Hours later, they return to drink from the sweet wells they have made, sometimes guarding them with fierce loyalty despite their small size. Pygmy marmosets live in tight family groups where communication hums in high-pitched chirps and trills, frequencies too fine for human ears to catch. When danger appears, they freeze perfectly still, their fur blending into bark until they seem to vanish. In their miniature world, every movement is measured, every sound intentional, and yet their lives are rich with intelligence, care, and community. They remind us that awareness does not depend on size, that even the smallest creatures can hold vast worlds of thought within them. At the other end of the spectrum stands the mandrill, the largest of all monkeys, a living masterpiece of color and power. A full-grown male can weigh over 100 pounds, his face adorned with ridges of electric blue and crimson red, his fur a shimmer of olive and gold. In the dim forest light, he looks almost painted, as though nature herself could not resist a touch of extravagance. Mandrills live in large social groups called hordes, sometimes numbering in the hundreds, moving through the rainforests of Central Africa in organized waves of sound and motion. Despite their size and formidable teeth, they are agile climbers and surprisingly gentle with their young. Their colors are not random but symbolic. The brighter the hues, the higher the status. As a dominant male walks through the clearing, even the forest seems to pause. Power radiates from his every step, but behind that brilliance lies the same social instinct shared by all primates: to lead, to protect, to belong. Above them all, in the mist-shrouded mountains of Central Africa, live the mountain gorillas, the heaviest of all primates and perhaps the most peaceful. Adult males, known as silverbacks for the shining streak across their backs, can weigh over 400 pounds and stand nearly 6 feet tall. Yet they move with a gentleness that belies their strength. Their thick fur shields them from the cold, and their slow, deliberate movements fill the forest with a sense of calm authority. A typical gorilla family consists of a silverback leader, several females, and their young. The silverback's power lies not in aggression but in serenity. His quiet presence maintains order and safety. When danger arises, his deep chest beat rolls like thunder, but it is more warning than attack, a reminder that true power often speaks in restraint. Around him, infants tumble and play, mothers groom one another, and the sound of tearing leaves mingles with soft grunts of contentment. To watch them is to see balance embodied, a living model of harmony between strength and tenderness. From the tiny marmoset's quick heartbeat to the gorilla's slow pulse, from the fairness of a capuchin to the empathy of a bonobo, the primate world reveals an unbroken continuum of intelligence, emotion, and awareness. These creatures think, plan, and dream in ways both alien and familiar. They communicate with sound, gesture, color, and care. They teach, comfort, deceive, and forgive. In their laughter and protest, in their memory and play, we glimpse the early shapes of our own humanity. To understand them is to remember what we share, a mind shaped not only for survival, but for connection. The forest hums with this truth in every rustle and call, that life, wherever it learns to love, becomes intelligent. And as the night settles softly over the trees, one can imagine the entire primate world exhaling together, a million small hearts beating in time with the rhythm of the living earth, dreaming the same ancient dream of belonging. The mountain gorilla, the heaviest of all primates, moves with a grace that belies its size, its power tempered always by gentleness. Males can weigh over 400 pounds and stand nearly 6 feet tall when upright, yet within their vast chests beats a calm heart, patient and sure. In the misty mountains of Central Africa, where clouds fold low over slopes thick with bamboo and fern, family groups live in quiet harmony under the watchful care of a single silverback. His silvered hair shines faintly in the dawn light, a crown earned through years of protection and wisdom. Around him, females groom one another in soft rhythm, infants tumble playfully in the dew-soaked grass, and the air hums with peace. When he rises, the forest seems to pause. When he sits, all movement settles. His deep, rumbling grunts carry through the foliage, not warnings, but reassurances, steady notes in the symphony of the green world. Each step he takes is deliberate, each motion thoughtful, as though he understands the fragile weight of his own strength. In the hush of the forest, where wind trembles through the canopy and birds murmur like distant dreams, the gorillas remind us that true power moves quietly. They are the living balance between force and care, a testament to the peace that can exist within strength. High in the trees of Southeast Asia, the tarsier opens its eyes to the moonlit world. Each orb gleams larger than its tiny brain, catching the faintest glimmers of silver light between branches. Its body, delicate and small, seems carved from the night itself, built for stillness and precision. The tarsier cannot move its eyes side to side. They are fixed like two tiny moons, so it turns its head almost all the way around to survey its dark kingdom. In silence, it leaps, long fingers catching bark, toes gripping with impossible control. It hunts by sound and motion, a blur of purpose in the deep hours before dawn. When you meet its gaze, it feels almost human, ancient, knowing, filled with the quiet memory of ages past. It watches and waits, unseen and eternal, a ghost of evolution's artistry. Each glance is a whisper from the distant past, polished by countless nights of adaptation and wonder. In the mangrove forests of Borneo, another face stirs, one both comical and profound. The proboscis monkey moves through green light and shadow, its great nose swinging like a pendulum before its mouth. The males, with noses longer than their hands, emit deep, resonant calls that echo through the waterways, announcing their presence and power. What seems at first absurd becomes beautiful when understood. The nose is not vanity but voice, amplifying their honking cries into the vastness of the forest. Females prefer the largest, fullest noses, and so nature, ever the sculptor, has shaped this strange instrument of survival and seduction. When a troop crosses a river, their bodies glide with elegance, yet their noses bob like small boats, turning the scene both humorous and holy. They swim with ease, using webbed fingers to cut through the water, their calls bouncing between trees and tide. Evolution has etched their story onto their faces, making each proboscis monkey a living monument to sound, adaptation, and life's curious creativity. Far to the north, among the Ethiopian highlands, where thin air weaves through grass and stone, the gelada sits like a monarch cloaked in gold. Its fur ripples in the wind, long and luminous, yet the eye is drawn always to its chest, a vivid patch of bare, heart-shaped skin that burns red against the cool mountain light. The glow deepens with the season, a living signal of strength and desire. While most primates display through faces or calls, the gelada's language lies in the open heart. When they sit upright on rocky ledges, the sun catches that crimson mark, transforming the plateau into a quiet theater of life's enduring play. They pluck grass in patient rhythm, each movement a pulse of existence amid the wind and silence. In that scarlet flare, evolution reveals its poetry, beauty born from adaptation, vitality expressed through color, and the timeless link between life and the heart that beats beneath it. On the island of Madagascar, in the whispering dark of the rainforest, the eye moves through branches like a thought passing through shadow. Its fingers are long and skeletal, the middle one so thin it seems impossible, yet it is the tool of a genius. With a soft tap-tap-tap along the bark, the eye listens for echoes of hollow spaces beneath. The sound tells it where the insects lie hidden, and then, with rodent-like teeth, it gnaws a tiny hole, slipping that eerie finger inside to fish its prey from the unseen. It is a strange, haunting ritual, both delicate and precise, a symphony of sound, motion, and instinct. Watching an eye at work feels like listening to the forest itself making music. Every movement, every tap, every pause is a note in the song of survival, proof that nature's imagination knows no end. Deeper in the Amazon basin, a flash of red moves among the flooded trees. The baldwicari, with its bright crimson face, is aflame against the green world. Its color, born from a network of vessels close beneath the skin, tells a story of health and vigor. A pale face signals weakness, a radiant one, vitality. Their short tails and long limbs allow them to swing through the canopy with strength and ease, and their laughter-like calls ripple through the rainforest like sunlight. They are bold, vibrant, alive, their scarlet skin a message written in blood and beauty. Life thrives where color dares. In the shimmering green of the Amazon, their faces blaze like a heartbeat, the forest's own pulse turned visible. In the cold mountains of China and Myanmar, where snow dusts the pines and frost clings to the air, the snub-nosed monkey gathers close with its kin. Their pale blue faces peek out from thick golden or black fur, their breaths merging in clouds of warmth. They press together in huddles, creating circles of shared heat against the bitter wind. In storms, they bury their faces in one another's fur, their closeness a shield stronger than solitude. Their lives move with the seasons, foraging for lichen and bark when the trees lie bare, returning to play and bloom when spring softens the snow. In this rhythm of endurance, they show the quiet triumph of community, that togetherness is not just comfort, but survival. Once, long ago, traders sought the colobus monkey for its fur, a cloak of black and white so fine that it adorned kings and nobles. But today, in their forest homes, they wear their coats for no one but themselves. They move through the canopy in slow, graceful arcs, their white-fringed tails flowing behind like banners in the wind. The light catches the edges of their fur, turning each leap into a dance of shadow and brilliance. They feed on tender leaves and rest in the calm of family groups, their lives untouched by hurry. They are living proof that beauty belongs not on thrones or robes, but to the creatures who carry it in peace beneath the trees. On Madagascar once more, the dry season comes like a long breath held too long. The dwarf lemurs retreat into tree hollows and fall into stillness, true hibernation, a feat rare among primates. Their bodies cool, their hearts slow, and time itself seems to pause. Weeks and months pass in silence until the rains return and the forest wakes in green abundance. Then, one by one, the lemurs stir, stretching their tiny limbs, blinking into the light of renewal. Their sleep is not death but wisdom, a patient waiting for the right moment to live again. In their cycles of slumber and awakening, they mirror the land's own pulse, the turning of drought to bloom, the rhythm of endurance and hope. And high in the snowy forests of China, golden snub-nosed monkeys huddle beneath the falling flakes. Their fur shines like sunlight against the white world, and their bodies cluster in warm unity. Infants rest at the center, wrapped in the protection of mothers and males, as the cold wind sings through the branches. Dozens of them form living spheres of warmth, each heartbeat shared, each breath a promise. When the snow melts, they scatter again, filling the forest with graceful leaps and laughter. Their survival is not just a story of adaptation but of affection, of life preserved by care. They remind us that companionship is as vital as food or shelter, that warmth can be born not only from fire but from one another. In the rainforests of Borneo and Sumatra, the orangutan crafts small miracles from leaves. As storms roll across the canopy, they pluck broad leaves and fold them deftly into umbrellas, hats, or shields. Some even weave them into layered protection for their young, teaching the next generation through silent example. Each act of creation speaks to an intelligence rooted not in aggression, but in observation and grace. The orangutan's mind, vast and patient, reflects in its quiet eyes, eyes that have watched the forest change for millennia. When it sits beneath its leafy canopy, watching the rain fall in silver threads, it seems less an animal than a monk of the jungle, contemplating existence in stillness. And so the night deepens across continents and canopies. The mountain gorilla settles into his nest of leaves, the tarsier peers into the moon, the proboscis calls fade across the river, and the gelada's heart-mark glows faintly beneath the stars. The eye taps its rhythm into the bark, the wakari's red face fades into twilight, the lemurs dream beneath the trees, and the orangutan drifts beneath its green umbrella of rain. In this vast chorus of life, every sound is part of the same symphony, the whisper of breath, the murmur of water, the rustle of leaves. Power and tenderness, survival and beauty, invention and stillness, all coexist in quiet harmony. The forest itself seems to sleep, its heart beating softly beneath layers of cloud and shadow. In that breathless calm, we hear what connects us all, a shared awareness, a patient intelligence, a longing simply to be and to belong. As we drift toward sleep, the primates dream with us, and in their dreams, the world turns gently, endlessly at peace. In every leaf they lift, there is quiet evidence of thought, a patient awareness that sees the world not merely as a place to live, but as a workshop of endless possibility. Capuchins rub plants and fruits on their fur to repel insects, a practice that feels like an ancient ritual carried out with gentle precision. These monkeys gather aromatic leaves, citrus rinds, and even certain insects, crushing them into pulps before rubbing the fragrant mixture across their skin. This homemade concoction becomes both medicine and perfume, a shield against biting flies and mosquitoes, and perhaps a source of physical comfort. They often anoint one another in turn, transforming hygiene into a communal act that strengthens bonds. Scientists watching them believe the behavior serves multiple purposes: protection, pleasure, and even social ritual. Each careful stroke of herbal oil shows a small miracle of learning, creatures experimenting, adapting, and sharing discoveries in their leafy world. The forest gives them every ingredient they need, and they, in turn, understand how to use it. It is self-care and science wrapped in instinct, passed quietly from one generation to the next. High in Japan's snow-covered mountains, a different lesson of intelligence unfolds. Here, Japanese macaques, often called snow monkeys, descend from icy cliffs to bathe in steaming hot springs, their red faces soft with relaxation as clouds of vapor drift around them. They discovered these natural baths generations ago, and each winter they return, gathering in quiet groups to soak, rest, and share warmth. This act of seeking comfort in the harshest season is both biological and emotional, a lesson in cooperation and calm. The springs conserve energy in freezing weather, helping the macaques survive and thrive while nurturing companionship through shared tranquility. The young splash and play among the elders, steam rising like soft whispers in the frosted air, as if the mountain itself breathes along with them. In this stillness, intelligence is visible not in invention but in the understanding of comfort, community, and survival, the art of turning hardship into harmony. Far away, in the dense rainforests of Central and South America, another voice rules the morning, the howl of the howler monkey. Deep and resonant, Their call can roll for miles across the jungle, carried by a special bone in their throat that acts as a natural amplifier. This structure, the hide bone, transforms each breath into thunder. Their roars mark territory, warn rivals, and call family, preventing battles before they begin. When the jungle awakens to that haunting cry, it is as though the forest itself is speaking, ancient, proud, and alive. The howler's song fills the dawn with invisible boundaries, shaping space through sound alone, declaring, "We are here." Their communication is not just noise, it is structure, power, and identity woven into air. In contrast, spider monkeys rely less on sound and more on movement, their bodies designed for a kind of flight. With long, muscular tails that can support their entire weight, they swing through the canopy like acrobats of nature. The underside of each tail tip is bare and ridged like a fingerprint, allowing perfect grip. They hang suspended, collecting fruit or grooming companions, all while effortlessly balancing between earth and sky. Each leap becomes a dance of trust and physics, each curl of the tail a lifeline. Their elegance makes them seem almost weightless, a vision of evolution's perfect answer to life in the trees. Then there are the gibbons, the master aerialists of the forest, whose arms stretch longer than their bodies, built entirely for motion. Their travel style, called brachiation, lets them soar more than 30 feet in one fluid movement, swinging hand over hand through the treetops with such smoothness it seems rehearsed by the wind itself. Every movement blends strength, rhythm, and grace, the shoulders flexible, the wrists rotating freely to absorb each shock, the body flowing through space like music. They move not just to survive but to express a kind of living art. Between their leaps, for a brief second, they seem to float, creatures of both air and earth. Gibbons rely on this agility for everything, to chase fruiting trees, to escape predators, and to navigate the complex network of their home high above the forest floor. Even the sound of their movement, the rustling leaves, the rush of displaced air, feels like the forest breathing with them, keeping time to their momentum. In the coastal regions of Southeast Asia, the line between land and sea blurs where macaques have learned to dive. These aquatic foragers plunge into rivers and tidal pools in search of shellfish and aquatic plants. With calm precision, they paddle through the water, holding their breath for more than a full minute as their eyes scan for movement beneath the surface. When they find clams or crabs, they use stones to crack open the shells, eating the tender meat within. What began as curiosity evolved into culture. Young macaques now watch and mimic their elders, learning to dive, forage, and open shells as part of their upbringing. Each dive is an act of courage and cleverness, a moment where instinct meets innovation. As they emerge dripping and triumphant, it is as though evolution itself is taking a breath beside them, the sea and the forest exchanging wisdom through experience. Meanwhile, the mandrills of Africa communicate in color and expression. Among these striking primates, dominance and emotion are written in bright pigments, deep reds, blues, and golds that blaze across their faces and bodies. The more dominant the individual, the more vivid the hues. When power shifts, so too does the color, fading or brightening within weeks as social ranks change. A single glance in the dim jungle light reveals hierarchy and confidence without a word. Even their gestures carry language. A silent yawn displaying gleaming teeth can mean warning or pride. A steady stare can command obedience. Every movement is a conversation, every hue a sentence. This living palette of emotion reduces conflict by replacing violence with visibility. It is language beyond sound, an art of biology that communicates strength, beauty, and identity. Across Africa's savannas, baboons display yet another kind of intelligence, social complexity. Their troops operate like miniature societies, full of alliances, rivalries, and inherited rank. Dominant males forge bonds of mutual protection, while females pass down their social positions to daughters. Trust, grooming, and silent gestures maintain stability. A bowed head can signal submission, a touch on the shoulder can forge peace. Their hierarchies are dynamic, shifting like politics, yet maintained with astonishing order. Within these layered relationships, emotion and logic intertwine. Baboons understand loyalty and betrayal, cooperation and competition, the same social currents that run through human history. Capuchins, too, reveal another shade of brilliance in their everyday acts. They not only use tools but sometimes keep them for future use. A capuchin that finds a particularly good stick for digging or scratching may hide it in a specific tree fork, returning later as if it remembers its secret cache. This shows foresight, a step beyond mere reaction. They are planners, problem solvers, and thinkers, building not just nests but habits. Some have even been seen breaking stones to crack nuts, mimicking the same behavior that prehistoric humans once performed. In tropical forests, friendship often transcends species. Monkeys in Asia, such as macaques and lemurs, form unexpected partnerships with deer and wild boars. They perch on the animals' backs, picking insects from their fur, while dropping fruits for their ground-dwelling friends to eat. The deer, in turn, provide warmth, mobility, and safety. These quiet exchanges are not random. They're relationships of mutual benefit built on trust and observation. The forest hums with unseen alliances where cooperation replaces conflict. Even boars follow troops of monkeys, knowing they will dislodge nuts and berries from above. Across species, across forms, life seems to find ways to connect and coexist. And through all this, the grooming, tool-making, and sharing, primates serve as gardeners of the wild. Every fruit they eat carries seeds that pass through their bodies and scatter across the forest floor. Each movement becomes an act of reforestation, a quiet collaboration between animal and plant. Some seeds will only sprout after passing through a primate's digestive system, making them indispensable to the renewal of tropical ecosystems. Forests, in many ways, are built by the wandering paths of monkeys and apes. From the canopy to the undergrowth, their presence shapes the very architecture of the green world around them. When one looks closely, every act, from a capuchin mixing plant oils, to a macaque diving for food, to a mandrill flashing its colors, becomes part of a single great story, the story of intelligence discovering itself. It is not only found in machines, tools, or fire, but in the soft rituals of survival. Intelligence can whisper as much as it can roar, in a shared bath of hot water on a winter day, in the measured breath beneath a river, in the flick of a tail mid-swing, or in the low hum of a territorial call echoing through trees. Across continents and species, these moments of awareness build upon one another, layer by layer, into a grand mosaic of life that learns, adapts, and remembers. From the silverback's thoughtful touch of the water's edge to the gibbon's effortless glide through air, from the capuchin's aromatic craft to the snow monkey's serene soak, all are chapters in a single unfolding story. A story that began long before humans walked upright, and continues still, in every rustling leaf and quiet stare. Proof that the mind of nature is vast, ancient, and endlessly inventive. Every day, thousands of primates move quietly through the canopies of the tropics, carrying the future of the forest in their bellies, shaping entire worlds without ever knowing it. As they eat fruit, the seeds travel through their bodies unharmed, softened and awakened, ready to grow. With each step, leap, and climb, they scatter tomorrow across the forest floor. Every seed that falls into the dark earth is a small act of creation, a quiet promise of renewal written in the language of hunger and movement. Over centuries, this endless motion has sculpted entire landscapes. Trees that depend on monkeys or apes for seed dispersal often grow far apart, their genetic lifelines carried through the wandering of these gentle gardeners. Without them, the balance between plant and animal would fade like mist in morning light. Each drop seed becomes a story of connection, each bite of fruit a small act of hope. The great rainforests of the world, those breathing cathedrals of life, exist because of this ancient partnership between fruit and fur, between motion and growth. Across South America, Africa, and Asia, countless trees evolved to tempt primates with sweetness and scent, their colors and shapes designed through time to draw a curious hand or mouth. Some seeds will only sprout after passing through a monkey's gut, their shells softened by stomach acid. Where primates vanish, the plants falter too. Researchers have found that forests without their animal gardeners grow thin and weary, with fewer young trees and poorer soil. Each fruit was designed for a particular mouth, each branch waiting for a familiar visitor. Without the primates, the forest begins to forget itself, its rhythm of renewal broken, its silence spreading upward through the leaves. Yet not all primates live on fruit and leaves alone. In Madagascar and Southeast Asia, some sip from nectar-filled blossoms, their faces brushed with golden dust as they feed. As they move from flower to flower, they unknowingly perform the work of pollinators, transferring life through touch. It is a delicate partnership, a trade between sweetness and survival. Some flowers open only at night, waiting for lemurs and lorises to visit beneath the moon. In the hush of those hours, fur meets pollen, and pollen meets air, and the forest renews itself in dreams. In return for sugar, the primates carry the next generation of trees upon their coats. It is an invisible collaboration that keeps the jungle breathing, a quiet pact sealed with every sip of nectar and every gentle brush of a branch. The forest depends on memory, the memory of where the sweetness lies, of which flowers bloom when, and who will come to taste them. It is this rhythm, repeated endlessly, that keeps the canopy alive. In the great green reaches of Borneo and Sumatra, the orangutan continues this legacy on a vast scale. Moving deliberately through the treetops, these patient apes consume hundreds of kinds of fruit, scattering seeds across the rainforest like drifting whispers of tomorrow. Each meal becomes an act of architecture. Each journey redraws the living map of the jungle. Some seeds are too large or too tough for birds to spread, leaving orangutans as their only transporters. Their slow, thoughtful movements ripple outward into the soil and canopy, holding together ecosystems that would crumble without them. When an orangutan plucks a ripe fruit from a high branch, it unknowingly decides which trees will grow centuries later. Their droppings, rich with nutrients and seeds, fall into the earth below and sprout into new life. Generation after generation, this gentle exchange shapes the rainforest, ensuring genetic diversity, resilience, and beauty. Their orange silhouettes, glowing in shafts of sunlight, are not just the watchers of the forest, they are its gardeners, its keepers, and its quiet architects. Nowhere is this relationship between primate and place more vivid than on the island of Madagascar. Here, lemurs reign as the ancient guardians of balance. Isolated for millions of years, the island became a living laboratory of evolution, where lemurs of every size and color filled the roles of pollinators, seed dispersers, and caretakers. From the tiny mouse lemur that flits through the undergrowth to the majestic indri that calls across the dawn, each carries the future in its hands and belly. They feed, climb, sing, and wander, and in doing so, they keep the island's green heart alive. When lemur numbers fall, the trees that depend on them stop regenerating, and the threads of the ecosystem begin to fray. The forest weakens, the soil hardens, and the songs of the night grow faint. But when lemurs thrive, the island flourishes with them. Every leap through the branches, every brush of fur against flower, becomes a gesture of creation. In their eyes flickers the memory of a wilderness found nowhere else on earth, an ancient rhythm of giving and receiving that defines Madagascar's fragile beauty. Even the simplest motion of a primate can shape the forest around it. As they swing, leap, and climb, their movements prune the canopy, breaking old twigs and tearing vines that would otherwise choke the light. This constant activity opens spaces for younger trees to grow, allowing sunlight to reach the forest floor. What might seem like play or travel is, in truth, an act of maintenance, a gardener's touch written into the structure of the jungle. The forest breathes differently because of them. Light falls in patterns shaped by fur and motion. Scientists call it canopy pruning, but in truth, it is a conversation between tree and climber, between stillness and movement. The branches offer passage, and in return, the primates sculpt their shapes. Over time, these tiny alterations create pathways of air and light, guiding the growth of entire forests. Every leap becomes both survival and artistry, a living architecture drawn by generations of motion. Even their waste is part of this design. To a passing glance, the droppings of monkeys and apes may seem like mere leftovers of life, but within them lies the blueprint of new forests. Each is a capsule of fertility, seeds encased in nutrients, ready to sprout. As these travelers move across mountains and rivers, they carry diversity in their bellies, spreading the forest far beyond its roots. When rain falls, the seeds germinate in soil already enriched by their carriers. Centuries of this natural cycle have expanded jungles, healed gaps left by storms, and ensured that no forest stands still. The jungle literally passes through its inhabitants, reborn from within. What seems like an ending, the last act of digestion, becomes a beginning, a spark of green that continues the endless rhythm of life. Some monkeys act as engineers without ever knowing it. By breaking branches, scattering fruit, or digging for roots, they change how sunlight filters through leaves, how soil breathes, and where plants take hold. They create microhabitats for insects, birds, and amphibians, leaving behind mosaics of light and growth. Where they travel, the forest becomes textured, full of open patches, clearings, and saplings rising toward the sky. Their discarded fruit feeds beetles and rodents, whose burrows aerate the soil and whose lives feed others in turn. These monkeys are sculptors of ecology, their daily lives leaving behind a gallery of living art. Ecologists call them ecosystem engineers. But to them, it is simply existence. They are unaware of their title, yet every leap, every bite, and every nest built with careful hands alters the balance of nature. Through instinct alone, they preserve the complexity that sustains thousands of other lives. But when these creatures disappear, the silence is not just soundless, it is structural. The loss of primates tears invisible threads that hold the forest together. The trees they once pollinated stop spreading, their fruits fall and rot, and the animals that depended on those fruits go hungry. Gradually, the green begins to thin, the canopy lowers, and the song of the jungle softens to a whisper. In regions where primates have vanished, scientists have documented fewer seedlings, poorer soil, and less variety among plants. What starts as a single absence ripples outward until the entire ecosystem trembles. Without the primates, the forest forgets how to renew itself. It becomes quieter, older, more brittle, like a heart beating slower each year. Primates are keystones in the architecture of life. Their presence supports countless species that never see them, creatures that live in the shade of the trees they help plant or feed on the nectar of the flowers they pollinate. When they vanish, the balance collapses, and the forest becomes a ghost of its former self. Saving them, then, is not an act of kindness, it is self-preservation. To protect the monkeys and apes is to guard the air we breathe, the rainfall that nourishes our crops, the ancient rhythm of regeneration that makes Earth what it is. The fate of the forest is tied to the fingers of a climbing gibbon, to the patient steps of an orangutan, to the playful leap of a lemur. They are living threads in the tapestry of life, and every thread matters. In the hush of twilight, as the forest settles into sleep, one can almost hear the echo of this partnership. The rustle of leaves brushed by fur, the soft drop of fruit to soil, the distant call of a primate somewhere unseen. The forest dreams of them even as they move within it. Every vine they grasp, every branch they shake, is a continuation of an unbroken story that began long before words or fire. It is the story of movement becoming creation, of life sustaining life. The jungle does not stand apart from its inhabitants. It grows through them, breathes through them, and remembers them in every tree that rises toward the light. When dawn returns, and the first primates begin their slow climb into the canopy, they do not know they are gardeners, architects, and ancestors of forests yet to come. They only know the sweetness of fruit, the warmth of sun, the touch of leaves, and that is enough. Through their simple lives, the forest lives again, endlessly reborn beneath their hands. To protect a single species of monkey or ape is to protect an entire landscape, a breathing system of life that stretches from the roots beneath the soil to the clouds drifting above the canopy. Conservationists call this the umbrella effect, because when one great creature is saved, countless others find shelter beneath its survival. When we guard the forests, rivers, and mountains that primates depend upon, we preserve everything that whispers and crawls and blooms within that living space. The orchids that open like lanterns on twisting branches, the frogs that sleep beneath damp leaves, the birds that weave nests from dreams and dew. Each protected grove becomes more than a refuge. It becomes a promise of abundance, a reminder that all living things are connected through invisible threads of breath and hunger, shelter and time. Primates stand at the heart of these efforts because their needs mirror the needs of the wild itself: space to move, food to share, companionship, and the long rhythm of patience. To lose them is to unstring the harmony that holds the living world together. To save them is to keep the forest singing. Beneath ultraviolet light, the story deepens. Some lemurs glow in spectral blues and greens, their fur catching hidden colors invisible to our eyes. Their faces shimmer softly like celestial maps, as if they carry constellations in their skin. Scientists do not yet know why this fluorescence exists, but perhaps it is a secret form of communication, a way to recognize one another when dusk folds the forest in shadow. Imagine the jungle under that hidden spectrum, every branch painted in invisible fire, every leaf and hand shining in quiet brilliance. The night itself would hum with unseen light, a gentle reminder that beauty often hides in wavelengths beyond our reach. In the darkness, the primates move as living lanterns, their bodies whispering in color only the forest can read. Monkeys, too, hold rhythms inside them, tiny echoes of the music that once bound our species to the pulse of nature. Capuchins and macaques have been observed listening to repeating beats, their attention flickering in time with the rhythm, as if recognizing a familiar pattern buried deep within the brain. Though they do not dance, their minds move with the measure, feeling the same pull that draws humans toward melody and repetition. This shared awareness of rhythm may have once helped their ancestors coordinate movement or communicate danger, for rhythm is memory in motion. It bridges instinct and understanding, turning sound into message. And in this small spark of rhythm, we glimpse the roots of music, not as art, but as survival, as connection. The forest itself provides the drum. In the humid air of Africa, male chimpanzees beat their hands against hollow tree roots, sending thunder through the jungle. Their deep drumming can last for minutes, echoing through the valley, a spontaneous concert of dominance, excitement, or joy. Each chimp has its own recognizable rhythm, a signature carved in vibration, and others answer back, turning the canopy into a living drum circle. The sound rolls through the ground and water, a heartbeat that unites the tribe. Some scientists believe this rhythmic expression may be the earliest ancestor of human music, the primal beat of belonging, older than speech, older than story. To listen to the chimp's drumming is to hear the first percussion of consciousness, the pulse of our shared history still alive in the wood and skin of the trees. Bonobos, close cousins to the chimpanzee, carry another kind of harmony, one of peace and resonance. When offered melodies, they prefer consonant sounds over harsh dissonance, leaning toward the same soothing balance that humans find pleasing. Their lives, too, reflect this symmetry, cooperative, gentle, guided by empathy rather than aggression. In their soft laughter and rhythmic play, there is music of another kind, emotional, steady, reflective. Harmony is not just sound for them, but a way of being, a mirror of their society's grace. Gorillas, vast and powerful, speak not through melody but through posture. Every gesture carries meaning. A turned shoulder can command respect, a bowed head shows humility, and a soft glance invites peace. Their communication unfolds in silence, a ballet of patience and understanding. To watch them interact is to see language stripped to its essence, emotion translated into movement. Each slow gesture holds intention, the wisdom of a species that speaks through calm. The air around them feels sacred, as if stillness itself were a kind of speech. Within that stillness, bonds are built stronger than words could ever hold. The forest where gorillas live hums with countless noises, insects, birds, rain, yet their truest conversations happen in silence. They remind us that not all understanding is spoken, that peace can exist in the quiet weight of mutual regard. Playfulness flickers in the hearts of many primates, revealing that intelligence need not always be serious. Among monkeys and apes, researchers have observed teasing and trickery, playful deception meant not to harm but to delight. One monkey steals another's fruit only to pretend to return it, then pulls away at the last moment with what seems like laughter in its eyes. Others hide objects, feign ignorance, or start mock chases that end in joyful collapse. These simple jokes are glimpses of imagination at work, of minds testing boundaries and expectations. To joke is to understand that others have thoughts, to anticipate surprise, to create joy from confusion. Even laughter like panting has been recorded, a rhythm of shared amusement that bridges instinct and humor. In these moments, primates remind us that intelligence smiles, that curiosity often dances in circles of play. There are stories whispered from sanctuaries and jungles of compassion that extends beyond their own kind. monkeys have been seen cradling injured birds, or gently examining small creatures that have fallen from branches. In one case, an orangutan was observed carefully lifting a wounded fledgling and placing it back on a tree, as if aware of its fragility. Such moments blur the boundaries of empathy, suggesting that kindness does not belong solely to humans. When a primate pauses to comfort another life, however different, it becomes a mirror for our best selves, a quiet act of recognition that life, in all its forms, deserves gentleness. Even in the wild, where survival often overshadows sentiment, compassion finds its place, blooming like an unexpected flower in the shade of ancient trees. Within their own groups, primates show a remarkable understanding of emotion. When conflict arises, a fight over food, territory, or rank, others often step in to restore calm. Baboons, macaques, and chimpanzees have been seen approaching aggressors to soothe them, or comforting the victims of disputes with gentle grooming and touch. These peacekeepers act not out of fear but awareness, a deep, emotional intelligence that senses tension in the air and seeks to balance it. They understand that survival depends on cohesion, that harmony ensures safety. Through touch and presence, they maintain the fabric of their communities. A hand on a shoulder, a soft sound, a shared breath, these are their words for forgiveness. In their calm, we can trace the ancient roots of empathy, diplomacy, and care, the same instincts that later shaped human societies. Among the branches of Africa, vervet monkeys have developed a vocabulary as rich as it is vital. They use distinct alarm calls for different predators, one for eagles, one for snakes, another for leopards. When the call sounds, the group responds immediately, climbing higher, freezing, or diving for cover depending on the signal. This precision shows true understanding, not reflex but meaning, a rudimentary language. The forest becomes a classroom of communication, each call a word, each response a sentence. Through these sounds, generations learn how to survive. It is language in its purest form, sound carrying knowledge, echoing through leaves and memory. All of these wonders, from rhythm and play to empathy and speech, exist beneath the same green roof, the ancient forests that cradle the primate world. To protect them is to protect a masterpiece of living art, a system that sustains itself through balance and beauty. The trees are libraries, the rivers are voices, and the air itself is a song. Every monkey, ape, and lemur is both student and teacher, a guardian of wisdom written not in books but in motion. When we watch them, we are reminded that we are not apart from nature but part of its endless rhythm, dancers in the same quiet music that began long before words. And as the night folds around the forest, the sound of rain returns, slow and steady, like applause for a world still breathing. Somewhere, a chimp drums on the roots of a tree. Somewhere, a lemur glows beneath invisible light. Somewhere, a gorilla closes its eyes in silent peace. And somewhere, perhaps not far from here, the echo of their ancient song hums through the dark, a lullaby for all who listen, a dream for the earth itself. The system is passed down through generations, refined by experience, and carried in whispers across the canopy. It is not written, yet it is remembered perfectly, like rain following the same path through leaves again and again. This ancient rhythm demonstrates that language in its purest form did not begin as art or ornament, but as survival itself. Each cry, each alarm call was a signal of life, a spark of comprehension born from fear, care, and the need to protect one another. It is here, in these raw exchanges of sound, that the first embers of communication glowed, small cries of warning that became the foundation of shared thought. From these primal voices came the slow dawn of understanding, and in that dawn, the story of intelligence began to unfold. The story of primates is, at its heart, the story of the mind discovering itself, not in sudden brilliance, but in countless, patient generations of learning, play, and quiet wonder. From the smallest marmoset to the great silverback, primates reveal every stage of thought's evolution. In the laughter of play, we find imagination testing its wings. In the careful shaping of tools, we see foresight flicker into being. In their families and alliances, empathy blooms alongside strategy. Every tree, every branch, every shared glance holds the weight of millions of years of experiment, of life asking itself what it means to know, to care, to be aware. Across time, these beings have shaped entire forests simply by living. Their feet have pressed soft paths into the soil. Their hands have scattered seeds that grew into continents of green. They are gardeners of the wild, stewards of balance, and artists of survival. In the eyes of a chimpanzee or bonobo, in the amber gaze of an orangutan, we find something achingly familiar, a quiet mirror of our own curiosity. Their gaze does not judge or question, it simply sees. It looks back across the ages and reminds us that we, too, were once creatures of the canopy, breathing the same damp air, listening to the same distant rain. To understand primates is to glimpse the slow flowering of awareness upon Earth's surface, to see intelligence not as a miracle that appeared suddenly, but as a vine that grew inch by inch, leaf by leaf, reaching toward light through eons of trial and tenderness. It grew first in hands that learned to hold, in hearts that learned to care, and in minds that learned to wonder at the stars beyond the treetops. In this gentle unfolding, life became self-aware, and the forest, in a sense, began to dream. Now the forest grows quiet. The chatter of the canopy softens, and only the breath of night remains, a low hum of existence, the sound of the earth inhaling and exhaling through its countless living lungs. The primates retreat to their nests, to their hidden hollows and soft beds of leaves. The mothers curl their young close, tails and arms entwined, while the wind combs through the branches with fingers made of cool air. The world folds itself into stillness, and in that hush, the language of the living continues, silent, endless, wordless. Every leaf carries a story, every stone remembers a step. Evolution is written not in bones or fossils alone, but in the daily rituals of care and movement. From the smallest lemur leaping through moonlight to the majestic silverback sitting quietly beneath the stars, each life has shaped the land in its own subtle way. Their footsteps have built forests, their hunger and play have sculpted ecosystems, their hands, brushing against bark and fruit, have planted the seeds of continuity. The night deepens. The scent of rain rises from the soil, mingling with the musky perfume of fruit and fur. Somewhere, a family of howler monkeys sighs into slumber. Elsewhere, a lone tarsier clings to its branch, its wide eyes catching the last shimmer of starlight. The forest is never entirely silent. Beneath the stillness is a pulse, the heartbeat of all that breathes. In that rhythm flows the story of life's patience, its will to endure, to adapt, to connect. The roots of our own awareness lie tangled within that pulse. Through them, we can trace our origins not just in form, but in feeling, the first spark of curiosity that made a creature tilt its head, the first flicker of affection that made one hand reach for another. Thought first learned to move through the branches, balancing between hunger and safety, between solitude and kinship. Curiosity grew fingers, and emotion found a voice in laughter and cry alike. It is through them, our ancient cousins, that we can see how life became conscious of itself. The connection we share with them runs deeper than memory or biology. It hums beneath our skin like an old song we almost remember. It moves through our pulse, reminding us that our intelligence, our art, even our longing for meaning, are extensions of the same force that made a chimpanzee learn compassion, that taught an orangutan to build a shelter against rain. We are not separate from their story. We are its continuation, another chapter in the same book of existence written in the same patient hand of time. To look upon them is to see what it means to belong to the living world. They are not ancestors left behind, but living pages of our own unfinished story, breathing and dreaming in parallel with us. In their communities, we glimpse the foundations of morality. In their games, we see the seeds of imagination. In their mourning, the birth of empathy. Each species carries a different lesson, each life a unique verse in the long poem of evolution. So as you drift towards sleep, imagine the forest settling into darkness. Picture the soft rustle of fur against leaves, the quiet murmurs of contentment as the night folds around them like a blanket of mist. Listen for the slow heartbeat of the jungle, a rhythm steady enough to match your own. Above the canopy, stars filter through gaps in the leaves, their light dappling the sleeping world below. Somewhere, an orangutan curls into its leafy nest, wrapping its arms around its dreams. A troop of lemurs huddles close, tails coiled together like silver ribbons, and a family of gorillas breathes in unison beneath the shadow of the trees. The forest breathes with them, and for a moment, it feels as if the entire planet is sleeping, every heartbeat, every sigh, part of a single pulse that connects all life. Let that calm carry you now. Let the gentle rhythm of nature remind you that intelligence is not noise or struggle but balance and quiet connection. In the stillness between thoughts, in the space between breaths, you can feel it. The same awareness that lives in the eyes of a primate, the same tenderness that shaped the world before words were born. You are part of that stillness, woven into the same design. The stars above are reflected in the dark, watchful eyes of creatures resting far below, and in that mirrored glow, the distance between species disappears. There is no human, no ape, no separation, only life dreaming of itself in infinite forms. The forest will awaken again with dawn, its voice is rising like prayer, and the cycle will continue. But for now, the world is at rest. If you enjoy these quiet journeys, I invite you to linger a little longer in this calm, to like, to share, to breathe, to listen. Let your thoughts grow light and slow, like leaves drifting downstream. The forest cradles your mind as it does its own, holding it gently in the rhythm of the night. Feel your heartbeat soften, your breathing deepen, your awareness dissolve into the hush of the wild. The story of primates is the story of life discovering itself, and as sleep folds around you, you, too, become part of that discovery. Good night.